I think if you ponder on last year and just really think about it, I think it'll affect you. And I think it's something that you really have to put behind you going into this year. I mean, we're 0-0 right now, and we'll be for another month and a half.
Last year was like a nightmare, and we don't want to talk about last year because it was last year's last year, and it's behind us right now. We're shooting for making 1988 a better year for us.
What year are you talking about?
Well, last year. I mean,
what year is that? I don't remember.
Play it.
It's definitely a lot better start than last year. Getting in a couple days before the first game last year really didn't give me much of a chance. And, it's just a totally new outlook, and I'm excited, and the coaches are excited. Things are looking good.
I feel like a rookie, but then again a vet. I have that enthusiasm of being a rookie, of a start, a different start, a new start, whatnot, but then again knowing the system.
It's 17 days now since the Bengals rookies reported to Wilmington, Ohio for training camp. While high draft choices like Ickey Woods have grabbed a lot of the attention, a couple other fellas have quietly gone about their work and have drawn rave reviews from the coaches. Among them, offensive lineman Paul Jeton.
That kind of surprises me, but if people are saying that, well, that's great.
Though perhaps somewhat camera shy, when it's down and dirty time, number 68 is right there. And at 6'4", 288 pounds, that's right, 288, he can be a handful for a defensive lineman.
I just try to, learn something every day from watching these older guys and from the coach, and just give 100%. That's about all you can do.
With the holdout of center Dave Remington, Jeton's been cast, and some say miscast, perhaps, as a center, which insiders say indicates the need to sign Remington. That notwithstanding, he's just trying to find work.
I never played center before till I got here, so it's been a big adjustment for me. So, I've got a lot to learn about technique and, just the different position.
One of the knocks on the Bengals defense over the years is that they simply don't get enough penetration from their defensive line. Well, I have to tell you, with the addition of guys like Curtis Maxey, that's likely to change come the '88 season. And I mean, Maxey could make a big difference. Assistant trainer Paul Sparling had to take the 6'3" Maxey, an 8th-round draft pick out of Grambling, to a local feed store to check his weight. 313 to be precise. With those kind of dimension, he's hard to knock off his feet, but Maxey says there's more to it than bulk.
Physically, I've just been playing the game, I love to play the game, but the mental toughness is where, you make the team here, so it's pretty much of a mental game, and I'm just trying to catch on right now.
But Maxey brings to the game the right mentality to play defense. We were talking about maybe some psychological implications to playing defense, that people just have to be kind of mean and say, hey, listen, this is my territory, this is my goal line, this is my backyard, get out of here.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, when you line down, you got to know, hey, I got to push him back. He can't push me back. I got to cross the line of scrimmage before he crosses the line.
We've got a good defensive backfield that are playing hard. Eric Thomas really looks good, and we're banking on him right now. When Ricky gets in, he will start it, or will start his work at corner. We're going to be better in the defensive line than we've been in the last 5 years. We are definitely an upgraded ball club in that area.
It really felt good to be back out there. I know when I handed the one ball off to James Brooks and he took off on a 12 or 13-yard stint, that really got the juices flowing.
I felt pretty good. Kind of get back in the saddle a little bit. We ran 6 plays the first unit, and then we came out. That's when I just thought I was getting back in the groove. I've been out of action for a while, and it felt kind of good to get the contact.
Lofting one with some touch into the end zone for a touchdown. Ira Hillary.
For the most part, we gained a lot of yards. And when Turk got in there, the good thing about that is that he moved the football team, as did Mike Norseth when he played. I think that's probably something that wouldn't have happened last year in preseason because Turk and Mike weren't with us. So I think you saw a lot of things happen where the team is solidified in a lot of very crucial situations, such as where Mike and Turk are.
Everybody was out there. They were poised. I don't think we were too winded out there. I mean, I know a couple people got a little winded a couple times. But it was smooth, I thought.
We won the ball game. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to win the game. And now we go back and look at the film and the mistakes that we made. And we had a few mistakes, and we can get better. And we're the way the attitude was today and the way the ball was being popped around today, I think we'll be a pretty good team.
We can't make too much out of a victory.
just yet. We got a win. That counts for something, and we've got more to prove yet.
The Bengals are doing their best to shield themselves from last season's nightmare, and there is cause to be optimistic about 1988. Not just because the Bengals are back, but because the Bengals are winning. And they're winning with a defense that we haven't seen in years, a defense that appears to be for real.
Well, we like to think that we're for real. There is one more preseason opportunity to prove it, not only to the fans, to the coaching staff, but most importantly to ourselves. We think we're playing good, aggressive, turnover defensive football, and that's the kind of defense that'll win a lot of games.
Heck, the Bengals are even winning at home. Saturday night's 24-7 victory over the Lions was a welcome sight following a season in which the Bengals won just once in 8 games at Riverfront.
And hopefully this will spill over to when we play Phoenix. You try not to get too overly excited about a preseason game, but in this case, I'll be very happy when I watch the films because we did win at home, and you know, last year we didn't do that very well.
Next weekend, the Bengals close out the preseason at New England with a chance to post their best exhibition record in 11 years. Now, although these wins don't count in the standings, each victory does help boost the Bengals' confidence, and that is perhaps the biggest key of this preseason.
It really is when you're sitting 3-1. Even though it's preseason, hey, you're winning games, and that's where you start to build your confidence, and you start building that winning attitude, and you put a few wins together, and you go into the season having experience in winning.
We get more and more confidence. You know, that's what the preseason is for, to get us more and more confidence for the regular season. So we're just going to come out in the regular season and try to put it together and maybe hopefully, win a championship or go to the Super Bowl or something like that.
Anything like that would please Coach Sam Weish, but for right now, he's just happy with what he's seen through 80% of the preseason.
So far, those final exams have been passed by everybody. We haven't had anybody that's just failed. We're going to have to release some players because the numbers won't allow us to keep players. But I don't think we're releasing players now that cannot play in this league. All of them have the ability to play. They're good. Maybe that's why we're having the success we're having in this preseason.
From the stadium, Steve Esposito for Sports of All Sorts.
This year, I've practiced exclusively the center position, and I've played some tackle in the games. But most of my time this training camp was devoted to center, and I think it's paid off. I feel a lot more confident about the position, about my assignments, and I feel good about it.
Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I do. I feel real good in there. I don't get nervous at all before a game, and just walk in there, and they're guys too, and they're out to play, and I just walk in the game and do my best.
I don't think we're going to lose. That's the way I feel. I feel that's probably the way everybody else in that locker room feels. So I think that with that type of positive attitude, regardless if we win or lose, I know that we're going to be ready for Phoenix.
4 days and counting until the Bengals begin to find out exactly how good they really are. A 4-1 preseason is cause for great optimism, but more importantly, this team has overcome the ill feelings from last season's nightmare to become a close-knit unit. Of course, winning doesn't hurt.
Winning takes care of everything. I think winning can kill a lot of ills. For a lot of people, there are a lot of little things that have taken place that have changed in the last 6 months that have made, I think, the team a little bit closer.
But there are other reasons for the Bengals' togetherness. Remember the old defensive player rooming with an offensive player ploy at training camp? Well, some laugh, but it's apparently worked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing that he did with in training camp by changing the players' room assignments, I mean, that was a courageous move on his part, and it ended up being a good positive move for the team.
Another reason for the Bengals' new and improved attitude is head coach Sam Weish, who after 4 years of inconsistent mediocrity seems to have finally gotten his message across to his players.
He's put some things together and he's implemented them. He's done that and he's stuck by his guns, and I think that's helped out tremendously.
And I think they realize the coaches have worked hard. The coaches have a lot of pressure on them this year. Players have pressure on them this year. But once you start to win a few games and once you start to share the pressure, it becomes a much lighter load.
And hopefully that positive attitude and the winning will carry over into the regular season. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. It was a game the Bengals felt they had to win, not just for themselves, but for their fans. Things did not start off well, though, as Phoenix moved the ball at will, opening the game with a time-consuming drive to the Bengal 1. But on 3 successive plays, the Bengals defense held, stuffing Stump Mitchell as the Cards come away empty-handed.
We just didn't get the ball in the end zone when we had the opportunities, and we didn't capitalize on a few mistakes that they made.
One mistake the Cardinals did take advantage of turned into the game's first score as Neil Lomax teams with Mitchell for this 4-yard touchdown midway through the second period. The Bengals offense, meanwhile, was stymied most of the first half. Boomer, in particular, couldn't get on track as he completed just 2 of his first 7 passes.
We were very sluggish in the beginning, in the first half, and one of the reasons being is that they're doing things to us defensively that we weren't really expecting.
But suddenly, in 4 plays, the Bengals go 71 yards, tying the game on this Boomer to James Brooks touchdown pass with 43 seconds to play in the first half.
Well, it was a cover 2, and each time we give me a one-on-one linebacker, and it's easy cake there. And it's just easy to draw the boat.
But again, it was Phoenix that took charge in the second half. Lomax with a bullseye to Roy Green puts the Cards back in front 14-7. 3 minutes later, though, it's Boomer with a play-action fake. And then the pass to a wide-open Eddie Brown, who turns himself goalward and is off to the end zone for a game-tying 61-yard touchdown.
Phoenix, they are so aggressive that they came up for the run. And I was able to get behind them, and I had to assure the catch and make the run.
Boomer and company weren't finished yet. With 11:15 to play, the Bengals take their first lead of the season as Mike Martin makes this fine diving catch in the end zone.
And I'm the 3rd receiver on that play. So when I saw the guy sit on me in front of me, I figured I can get in front of him, and I was just saying, I wonder if Boomer sees that this guy isn't really doing anything, and he threw one of those balls where I had to go after it.
So now the offense had done its job, and now it was the defense's job to preserve the lead. With Phoenix on the move again, Eric Thomas picks off this Lomax pass in the end zone.
Lomax just dropped back and just threw the ball. I'm sure he read the coverage. I'm sure he knew what it was, but he just dropped back and threw it anyway, and I was just fortunate enough to be there and make a play.
But the biggest plays of the game were yet to come as Phoenix marched the ball all the way down to the Bengal 2 in the final minute.
There wasn't a lot said. You know, we all knew the game was on the line and it was on all of us. And, it was more of just everybody looked into each other's eyes and knew we had to get it done.
And that's just what the Bengals did. On a 3rd and goal play, Carl Zander drops Mitchell for a 3-yard loss back to the 6. And then on the game's final play, Jason Buck storms through to nail Lomax, capping off a goal line stand to remember and a win worth savoring.
This way is a good way to win because it silences a lot of people that stand around waiting for you to stumble so they can be the first to predict your crumble.
This was a great game for the players, a great game for the fans in Cincinnati. One to be proud of.
Next Sunday, the Bengals travel to Philadelphia where they meet the vastly improved Eagles. And by the way, the last time the Bengals opened a season with 2 straight victories was 1981, the same year they went to the Super Bowl. From the stadium, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
Why did the Bengals win Sunday? There's a lot of opinions on that subject. Some will tell you, what a great offensive performance we had. But others claim, hey, look at that defense. They won the game. Players point to the fans, and all those things surely played a part. But in our dogged determination to unveil all the reasons, we uncovered another during a timeout. Lo and behold, it hit us like a brick. The Bengals were back, and there's going to be trouble around the NFL. Oh, I know what some people think, the Bengals are back, so what? Others refuse to acknowledge that they had anything to do with what happened out on the field. But the fans notice, at least Dave did. I assume he's referring to the Bengals. The police notice, don't worry, we won't tell the chief. And there was a 50% increase in the use of binoculars during timeouts.
When I go to the game, I want to be entertained, and I want to be entertained during the game, at pre-game, and also at halftime.
Charlotte Jacobs has been a Bengal for more than a decade. She knows what happened during 1987 when the Bengals were disbanded. Gloom and doom, a 1-7 home record. Something definitely was missing.
A real void in your life, right?
Precisely, especially during the timeouts when the announcer says,
and we'll be back to Riverfront Stadium after this.
So while the TV sells beer, cigars, trucks, more beer, shavers, credit cards, more beer, the fans just sit around with nothing to look at. Not anymore.
1, 2, 3, 4.
As the Bengals reappear, Jason Michaels wants them to be better and different than any other cheerleading squad in the NFL.
I believe I'm getting away from all the real bouncy, bosomy kind of choreography where the girls are basically just showing their bodies off and they're not really dancing. I get tired of seeing the same type arm movements. I'm doing different type arm movement.
It doesn't come easy. Arms aren't always raised in unison. Feet aren't always precisely in step.
I enjoy the challenge. Sometimes it's not as easy as the old hat stuff.
I think the girls are working harder at this point as a Bengal cheerleader than they've ever worked.
I like to think that what I'm doing is very classy and very tasteful. That's the main thing. When they do shimmy, you know, it's always very tasteful.
So far, that's been the case on the field and on the sidelines. I just felt it was something that had to be pointed out.
A millionaire at age 22, the Bengals' #1 draft choice has finally begun to earn his pay. Ricky Dixon worked out with his Bengal teammates for the first time today, 4 days after ending a 2-month contract holdout.
Well, I feel like I had a great practice. I'm in pretty good shape, and I feel like I learned a lot today. Mentally, I feel like by the end of this week, game time, I should be ready.
You know, it seems like we're doing a story like this every year. Last year was Jason Buck, and the year before that it was Joe Kelly. Both of those players know all about the catching up process that Ricky Dixon is having to go through.
Well, the biggest thing for him is everybody's going to be watching him. You guys, players, you know, coaches, all his teammates. They're going to be watching him, and it's going to be an intense time for him. But he just has to take it, you know, as it comes.
You show up late, and you know, there's some bad feelings because you're getting more money than other players that are proven, and you haven't proven yourself yet. So it just takes a while to adjust, and you know, you go through a tough period.
The Bengals will break Dixon in slowly. Ricky will not start in Sunday's game at Philadelphia, but he will see action at cornerback in passing situations.
We'll put him in the nickel defense. That's on a third down, sure passing situation when they put in extra receivers. He'll go in and cover. And he'll play on all the special teams, or many of the special teams. He'll be a good cover man, a good tackler. He just is not ingrained into our defense enough yet to put him in there and do all the things that we want to do and have to be able to do in order to play these guys.
Despite his holdout and his hefty contract, Dixon says he feels no resentment from his teammates, adding that they all have the same goal. That's to help the Bengals win. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
First and foremost being the long-awaited showdown between former teammates Tim Crumride, the Bengals nose tackle, number 69, going head-to-head against Dave Remington, number 50, the Eagles center, getting his second start since being claimed on waivers after the Bengals gave him a medical release. Remington especially had a dual purpose as he took the field, first to help his team to win, but also to show something to the folks back here in Cincinnati.
You know, I tried hard. I wanted just to show people that I can play football, and I'm still an effective football player, and I just wish we would have won the football game.
As for who won the individual confrontation, well, that was only important to one man.
Well, it was a good matchup. I'm going to give it to myself this time around. I had a good game. I made a lot of plays, and the key is to make tackles, and I made a lot of tackles today, so I came out ahead of them, I think.
We lost the football game. This is a team sport, and that's the way you got to look at it. It doesn't do me any good to say, yeah, I did good against him, because it just doesn't matter.
Rimbo wasn't the only Eagle who wanted to show something to the folks back here. Lots of friends and family focused on number 80 of the Eagles, wide receiver Chris Carter out of Middletown High School. He had 2 catches for 20 yards. On the defensive side of the ball, number 52, Todd Bell, another pride and joy of Middletown High School and Ohio State University. But again, at this level of play, the object is to win them, not wow them back home.
Anytime you lose, it hurts, you know what I mean? Especially when you come so close, yet so far away in a situation such as this one this evening. We just have to come back.
Undoubtedly, the most impressive performance was turned in by another Ohio State grad, Keith Byers. 52 yards on 13 carries, another 50 in pass reception yardage, but he, probably more than most, took the loss hard.
The day I started taking losses easy is the day I need to retire, you know, because I'm not in this game to lose, and I want to win. Whatever I'm doing, you know, if I'm playing a football game, I want to win. If I'm playing Uno cards, I want to win. And, you know, the losses hurt.
You have to consider what kind of a career Byers has in store, as the Dayton native is at long last healthy after a series of foot difficulties, including a chronic fracture.
Oh, I'm healthy. I'm 100% healthy. I feel good. You know, this is the best I felt in about 3 years, and, you know, I'm going to continue to be healthy the whole season.
According to Sam Weish, it all came down to doing your homework.
Well, I don't think in the 5 years we've been here we were better mentally prepared than we were today.
Middletown native Todd Bell, a one-time Chicago Bear, now an Eagle, would agree.
I think we have to prepare ourselves just a little bit better for the plans that we have going into the games.
But that preparation simply laid groundwork for a big play game. The Bengals' second possession lasted all of 52 seconds when Boomer Esiason passed to Tim McGee for a 78-yard TD strike, the longest of either one's career.
You know, I came underneath and Boomer threw the ball quick, which we don't usually throw it, and by him throwing it quick enabled me to run the ball effectively, and I thought Eddie was going to throw me a block, but he didn't.
And three big plays that Cincinnati managed to overcome involved sure-handed tight end Rodney Holman, who was charged with 2 fumbles and had a hand on the lone interception of the day.
And I was down. Don't get me wrong, I was down. And everyone on the offense came in, the defense came and said, get it up, let's go, let's go. That was something that happened, let's go.
My pivotal play of the game came early in the second quarter. Eagles moving, threatening to go up 21-7 when Solomon Wilcox collected his second pro interception.
We felt like we have to get some turnovers. We unfortunately were only able to get one, but we still were able to hold them when we needed to.
Great play. That's what we need. We need turnovers, and that's going to put the offense back in the field and put us on the sidelines.
And what can you say about James Brooks and his touchdown run that tied the game just before the half? His elusiveness and quick cut ability made it happen after he took the second of Boomer's 4 TD passes, eventually luring Wes Hopkins into a personal foul. Not much changed in the third quarter except the tit-for-tat score, though the Bengals defense was warming up for its fourth quarter stand. I was most impressed with Cincinnati's ability to extricate themselves from horrible field position and put together long, consistent drives, like this 1st and 10 from their own 10. And third down conversions were key. Same drive, 3rd and 10 at their own 23, and Boomer finds Eddie Brown for a 34-yard pickup that would help them regain the lead temporarily. Drive of the day, though, was their last one, the game winner, and it may have turned on a crucial third down conversion that went Cincinnati's way by an inch. And the game-winning points, as it turns out, were the result of good, old-fashioned, disciplined football.
McGee was telling me he was going to do something on a play, and I said, just run your route because you're going to be wide open. And Rodney Holman told McGee the same thing. So it's just a question of McGee getting out of his mind what he wanted to do and do what he's supposed to do. And like I said before earlier, that if you do what you're supposed to do and you do it right, you're probably going to have something good happen for you.
By now, you're probably familiar with Eric Thomas's back-to-back plays on passes intended for Mike Quick. Again, key plays that went Cincinnati's way.
I just basically just read his face, and I seen his eyes light up a little bit, so I knew the ball was coming. And when he went up, I just went up and just tried to rake his arms down, and the ball came out. On the second one, I did look back inside, and I was able to get a little piece of the ball, and it came out.
And, of course, the overthrown pass by Cunningham on 4th down that marked a second straight defensive stand to end a winning effort. When you saw that last pass sail high, what ran through your mind?
Ecstatic joy. You know, I was just, we just went crazy. He could have ran for first down probably, but when I saw that go up, I knew it was incomplete. And it was way to go, Joe! 2-0 and a lot of momentum going into the year.
A lot of people didn't think that we were going to come in here and play well, and it was kind of a motivating factor for us. But it's a big win, of course. But we got 14 more games to go, and a big one next week with Pittsburgh. So we can't rest our laurels on this game alone.
Three Rivers Stadium, the heart of Steeltown in Pittsburgh, PA, where they love their Steelers as much as their beer. This is Steeler country where the Bengals rarely win. 4 victories in 18 tries to be exact. But at least when you play the Steelers, you know one thing for sure, it is going to be a war.
As offensive linemen, defensive linemen, it's one thing they stress is being physical and trying to dominate their opponent. So we know going into this game, we're going to have to play probably the most physical game of our lives this Sunday to survive.
Now, if the Bengals could win this game Sunday, it would not only snap a 9-game losing streak against AFC Central Division teams, it would also mark the first time since, well, let me ask you this. Do you know the last time the Bengals opened a season with 3 or more straight wins?
Maybe it was the Super Bowl year. I don't know. No, didn't they lose? I don't know. I really don't know. Did they ever win their first 3 games?
Yes, they did, Boomer. The year was 1975. Paul Brown was the head coach, and the Bengals won their first 6 games in what would be an 11-3 playoff season. The Bengals' best start ever 13 years ago.
1975, let's see, I was in the 3rd grade. I believe I was trying to make bees. I don't know.
You were up to no good back then, right? No, not me, man. I'm a nice, calm, mellow guy. I probably was sitting back reading a book somewhere and enjoying life.
I was going to grade school getting spanked by nuns. What else was I doing? I suppose I was making paper airplanes and daydreaming like everybody else.
And hopefully a win over the Steelers Sunday will be more than just a dream. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
anytime you're playing a division team, you want to have those wins because you start stacking up those losses against a division team, they really hurt you in the end. So it's not only a big game on our schedule, but also within the division.
If we can go up there and play our game and come out victorious, I really believe that coming home for Cleveland would just be tremendous for the fans and for us. So we want to make sure that we definitely get this win under our belt.
All the bets double in a game like this because this is the first tiebreaker. And if you drop one of these, or if you're standing within the division is not as good as your team that you tie, if you happen to be on top, then you're out of luck right at the beginning.
The last time the Browns came to town, it was the final week of the players' strike, and Cleveland, led by Gary Danielson and Brian Brennan, clobbered an overmatched Bengal replacement team 34-0. This time, though, the Browns will face the real thing, a Bengals team that, with a victory, could open up a nice little 2-game lead in the AFC Central Division.
That's true. If we can come out of this weekend with the victory, you're looking at back-to-back weeks against Pittsburgh and Cleveland and opening up a 2-game margin there, which in the division is very important.
Cleveland, on the other hand, is holding its own while Bernie Kosar recuperates from an elbow injury. Kosar's fill-in is Mike Pagel, who led the Browns to a victory over the Colts this past Monday night.
He looked even better than Kosar Monday night, so we're not going to dwell on the fact that Kosar isn't going to play because one man is not going to beat the team. It's going to be a whole team effort, and they have a good team.
Now, the Bengals are only 3.5-point favorites in this game Sunday with the Browns, and I read today in the paper where the Browns' Bob Golick says the Steelers-Bengals game put him to sleep. I don't know about you, but it appears to me the Bengals still aren't getting a whole lot of respect.
Well, I'm not concerned about it. I mean, everybody's going to say what they want to say about us. But in the long run and in the end, we'll find out who's the best team. And that's what's going to happen this week.
And this week could be the week that the Bengals finally make believers out of the Browns. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
We got a chance to get a big lead now. We go 4-0 and put them back 2 games, and it couldn't be any bigger. We thought that might have been a good help to us, but they're a solid team. They have the same defense they had before. The offensive line's coming together, and Pagel did a good job for them.
The tempo of this game was set by the Bengal defense on the 5th play of the game. As Kevin Mack coughs up the football, Lewis Billups picks it up and heads 26 yards the other way, and the Bengals would never look back.
They just hit the ball out, and the ball was just sitting there for a while until Reggie came along. He tried to pick it up, and it kind of bounced back out to the sideline towards me. I just came in, picked the ball up, and ran with it.
Offensively, the Bengals struggled, but they were able to come up with the big plays at the right time. This 46-yard pass play from Boomer to Eddie Brown puts the Bengals at the Browns' 24. And 7 plays later, Ickey Woods takes it in on a 4th and goal play. That gives the Bengals a 17-3 lead. The Browns, though, drive 71 yards in 6 plays and close their deficit to 7 on this Mike Pagel to Brian Brennan touchdown pass.
It's just a pattern we had actually devised for this game, and we caught the right coverage, and Mike threw a nice ball.
But the Bengals again open up a 14-point lead as Woods takes it in with just 17 seconds left to go in the first half.
The Bengals may have 24 points, but Cleveland's defense really hasn't played that badly in the first half. Boomers completed just 7 passes, but 3 long ones to Eddie Brown have set up 3 of the 4 Bengals scores, and that's really been the big difference in the first half.
After a scoreless third period, the Browns make a game of it once again as Mack waltzes in from the 3. 24-17 Bengals with 10:39 to play.
They had a safety blitz coming. Both me and the quarterback saw it. Now we kind of shortened the play up a little. It was supposed to go a little wider, but it looked real good.
The Cleveland offense, though, would never come close again as the Bengals defense comes through in the clutch to shut down the Browns by 7.
We didn't play the best game we can play. Cleveland played as hard as they could. We played as hard as we could, and we look forward to playing them again.
From the stadium, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. There's no doubt the Bengals are sky high as the result of their perfect 4-0 start. But this Sunday, they play a team equally as pumped up. The Raiders overcame a 24-0 halftime deficit to beat the Broncos in Denver in overtime this past Monday night.
A big win for them. They were down 24-0, and to win a game like that against an excellent team like Denver, it's got to be a confidence builder, and it's got to be a big boost.
Jay Schrader, the former Redskin quarterback, got the job done in his first game as a Raider, and the Bengals are convinced that he will be even tougher this weekend.
Once he learned that system, he'll be a better quarterback, but he just
just moved to a new team now. He ain't learned the system down, but he'll be better this week because I think he'll know the offense a lot better now.
It's also worth mentioning that the Bengals have had more problems with the Raiders than any other team in the National Football League. 16 times they've met, only 4 times have the Bengals won, and never have they beaten the Raiders out in California.
In the past, I've heard that the Raiders have been beating the Bengals, but this is a different team now. I'm on this team, and this is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to either play against the Raiders or play for the Raiders, and I'm going back home, and I don't think we're gonna stop now.
It's going to be another dogfight. It never gets any easier. This would probably be our toughest game to date just because of the fact that we haven't won out there in the last 5 years.
By the way, the Bengals enter Sunday's game as 2-point underdogs. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
As was the case last week, the Bengals defense short-circuited the opponent's first possession with a turnover. Again, it was Lewis Billups flagging down an errant pass, tipped by Leo Barker in the end zone, to keep L.A. off the board. Up 3-0 thanks to a breached field goal. They tacked on 6 more on a beautiful misdirection play that suckered the Raider defensive unit one way while Boomer wheeled and threw back to Rodney Holman, who claimed 6 the easy way as the lead went to 10-0.
We've had offensive days like we've had today, and you just hope it never ends. I mean, the ecstasy of winning and the way you're winning is just tremendous. And
East L.A. native Ickey Woods did his deal and then his dance as the Bengals pushed the lead to 17-0 midway through the second quarter. Now, don't get the idea that the Raiders don't have any weapons on offense. Their quick strike threat, no less than Notre Dame Heisman winner Tim Brown, who split the defense and went a very quick 65 yards for the Raiders' score. Undaunted, though, the Bengals put together another ball control drive that ended when Boomer hung in the face of the rush and threw to Tim McGee for the touchdown that provided a 24-7 halftime lead. With that, of course, the Raiders had to alter their game plan and throw the ball downfield where the likes of Eric Thomas lay in wait to claim another takeaway. While the Bengals offense continued to make a mockery of the Raiders defense, rated 10th in the conference, Stanley Wilson's plunge and the point after pushed it to 38-7.
I think today was our best game of the year. I mean, as far as the defensive team. I know our offense has played week in and week out, but I think today we've played probably our best on the defensive side of the ball.
We play in on grass. We're playing on the West Coast after an emotional week last week. This was the real test of whether we had a true contender. And we passed the test with flying colors.
Boy, who could have figured this one? And the irony is that the Bengals were kind of worried about this game, coming out here to play a team that they had never beaten on the West Coast and handled them easily today. Obviously, needless worry as this team continues to win converts on both coasts. From the Coliseum in Los Angeles, California, Dennis Jansen for Channel 9 Sports.
The Bengals are hurting at running back. Both James Brooks and Stanley Wilson are doubtful for Sunday's game with the Jets. Now, JB still might play, but with his bulky cast on his left wrist, it'll be tough.
Well, right now I'm trying to get used to the cast on it right now, just to get a feel of the ball. And I'm just going to take it day by day right now. It's hard to adjust to, but I feel like I can adapt to anything, and it's one of the challenges I got to face.
Until Brooks and/or Wilson get healthy again, the Bengals have added former UK running back Mark Logan to the roster. Logan, of course, played for the Bengals during the 3-game strike last season and knows this tour of duty might not even last that long.
That's true. I just want to come in and be in it mentally because you never know what's going to happen, so I want to be prepared when they call on me. It's a great feeling to be back. I feel like I'm just right at home. I feel like I fit in real well. The players have accepted me well. I feel real great.
Ironically, on a week in which the Bengals are in desperate need of running backs, the great Walter Payton was at Spinney Field, but not for a tryout.
You know, what we're doing a piece with I'm working with the BBC out of London, and we're bringing American football back to Europe, and we're interviewing some of the players on the Bengals, and the reason we're here is because they're the last undefeated team in the NFL.
And that's something the Bengals would like to keep intact for at least another week. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
Do you have any pressure on you at this point?
Well, not really. It's just we wanted to get that respect. And once we got that respect after the last ball game, it's just we feel kind of comfortable now. Now we're in the big leagues, and teams have to shoot to beat us just like we're shooting to beat them.
They have an excellent pass rush. They bring a lot of guys. They do a lot of stunning in there to try to mix things up so our linemen can get confused. So we have to do some things where we're going to have to try to pick up their stunning when they come in.
Bengal Mania has again hit Cincinnati as pro football's only undefeated team prepares to square off against the New York Jets. But what a shocking start. On the Bengals' first offensive play, Marty Lyons sacks Boomer in the end zone for a safety.
Munoz tried to jump out at me, and I just knocked his hands down, and Boomer was right there. It was, you know, we knew that he was going to dash that way. It was just a matter of getting by the offensive tackle.
And then the next time the Bengals touch the ball, Stanley Wilson coughs it up, and again Lyons is in the right spot as he recovers the fumble at the Bengals 7. A couple of plays later, Roger Vick dives in from the 1, and just like that, the Bengals find themselves in a quick 9-0 hole.
Once those things happen, everybody started thinking, oh, is this going to be like the way last year was? Things are going bad, so we're going to crumble. We didn't feel like that.
But the Bengals began to turn the momentum in their favor late in the first quarter as Boomer connects with Eddie Brown for a 61-yard touchdown. The PAT was blocked, but the Bengals were back in the game. Again, the Boomer to Brown combination pays big dividends as they hook up for this 8-yard score. Again, though, the extra point failed, so the Bengals led at 12-9. After the Jets tied the game at 12, Boomer engineers a 7-play, 80-yard drive, capped off by this 38-yard circus catch by Tim McGee, a catch that gives the Bengals a 19-12 halftime lead.
It was hung up there pretty high. I really didn't see it until the last second. I kind of misjudged it, and I got around, and you know, fortunately, Boomer put it right there.
But the Bengals appeared to have let up just a bit early in the second half as the Jets tie the game in just 56 seconds on this Ken O'Brien touchdown pass to Al Toon. But then Ickey Woods takes over. First, the rookie breaks the 19-19 tie with his 5-yard score, and then he explodes for this game-clinching touchdown with 3 minutes to play. Ickey rushes for 139 yards, and the Bengals remain perfect with a convincing 36-19 win over the Jets.
I was fired up because I knew I was going to get the call, you know, and get to play a lot. So I was fired up, and I just went out there and tried to play a good ball game.
A lot of things that we did wrong today and still won. That's a good sign. And it was kind of weird in the beginning, but we did okay, I felt.
13 years ago, the Bengals also won their first 6 games, but then lost to Pittsburgh. So this team has a chance to make Bengal history if they beat the Patriots next Sunday in Foxborough. From the stadium, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
Talk about a loose bunch of guys. Everything is fun and games these days at Spinney Field as the undefeated Bengals continue to gain more and more national recognition. On Wednesday, a write-up on the front page of USA Today's sports section, not to mention a 4-page spread in Sports Illustrated and an AFC Offensive Player of the Week award for rookie Ickey Woods.
I feel great, but like I said earlier, I have to give the credit to the other 10 guys. Because without them, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did.
All of these accolades, though, come as the result of last week's trouncing of the Jets. Now the Bengals have to put that victory behind them and get ready for this Sunday's game at New England.
We're not looking down the road at all. We have to beat New England, and it's going to be a tough game because it's always tough playing in somebody else's field when we're on the road. And it's just going to be a good game.
You know, it's got to be just a little bit difficult for the Bengals to get motivated for this game. Not because New England's that bad a team, but because the Bengals have been winning in part on emotion. And it's awfully hard to get pumped up for a team that just lost to Green Bay by 42 points.
Well, they had a lot of injuries, and they got a few players like Tippett coming back this week, and could be a change for them. And it worries me more because they're, you know, humiliated from last week, and they'll come back really fired up. Everybody's shooting for us because we're 6-0, and that gives them the edge, I think.
But the odds makers give the edge to the Bengals, who are favored to beat the Patriots by 5. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. For 6 weeks, the Bengals were riding an emotional high. They had forgotten what it was like to lose. Well, on Sunday, the New England Patriots gave them a refresher course in that losing feeling. Up until then, the Bengals had an air of invincibility. Now, though, the real test. How will this team bounce back from its first defeat, and will there be a problem getting that positive mental edge back?
Well, a loss is a loss just like a win is a win. You know, that game is behind us just like all other wins are. We have to look toward the future.
You know, get off to a great start like we have and let one game totally devastate you. And like I said, this is the best thing that happened, that we lost this last game before playing the Oilers this week.
Luckily for the Bengals, there's not a whole lot of time to dwell on that first defeat because this week they have to focus all their attention on the Houston Oilers, a rock'em sock'em football team that, despite some injuries, has managed to stay within 1 game of the first-place Bengals.
Houston is a great football team. They have a lot of weapons, and
We know it's going to be a dogfight come Sunday, and we're just preparing ourselves day by day for that dogfight.
They got so many weapons. They got, Givens and Hill at the wideouts, and plus they got Moon back, and they got probably one of the best overall offensive lines we're going to face. So they got all their weapons back now.
And the Bengals will need all their weapons in order to snap a 3-game losing streak against the Oilers. From Spinney Fields, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. In the days of the old TV westerns, there was the never-ending battle of good versus bad.
All right, give it up. Slide them guns out here.
Such is the matchup this Sunday at Riverfront Stadium as the good guys try to hold off the
outlaws, thieves, gunmen.
We'll call them the Houston Oilers.
We'll be ready for them. They also are one game behind us, and they want to share the lead, and we don't want them anywhere near us.
The Oilers, you see, are rapidly gaining a reputation as the dirtiest gang in the land, and they're proud of it. Why do you think Coach Jerry Glanville always wears black?
Folks say he's got an army down there, but no one dares get close enough to tell different.
And Glanville's army is led by his ace gunslinger, Warren Moon. Having recovered from a shoulder injury, Moon directs one of the league's most dangerous attacks. Houston's offense certainly has
nice balance.
What we might try to do, or what we're thinking about doing, is put some heat on it and see if can he take some hits here. And I think once he get hit and stuff, we're going to see what he can do from there.
But the Bengals have a pretty fair gunslinger of their own.
He's just a wild kid. You want to back that up?
Well, there's no question about they will be coming after me. That's something that I accept every time we play them. I mean, we've never had really any problems with them in terms of cheap shotting. I mean, that maybe other teams have had. I don't know why, but it's always a very physical game. They're a very aggressive team, and hopefully we can play off their aggressiveness.
Aggressive is just a polite way of describing the Oilers' passion for hitting after the whistle blows. They lead the league in penalties, and when you play these bad boys, you best beware.
We have to just, be alert. You got to be alert. If you're not alert, maybe you'll be the one getting hit watching the pile. So when you can't stand around the pile, you just have to be alert and watch. They're a very aggressive team, and they're going to come at you if you let them. We have to just hit back.
He took my gold. He was never to be trusted.
And that's just the kind of gang the Oilers are. If the Bengals aren't careful, these bad guys in baby blue will steal more than just the Bengals' gold.
This is a team that's not going to back down, and we're just going to wait till Sunday to show them what we can do also.
We'll be ready for them.
And the Bengals better be ready because this is one gunfight they can't afford to lose. Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
We were playing a fired-up team, and we had to be a fired-up team to play them, and it's something that we were looking forward to. It was a big game, and a lot was riding on it, and it's the mental preparation of a game. I think it's 80%, and when you have the right frame of mind and you're out there playing, it kind of takes over the other, physical aspects of it.
You just have to be emotional in a game like that.
Could you feel it a day before the game, right before the game? Do you feel that it hits different pitches?
Oh yeah, you feel it all week. And, you try to peak on Sunday, and I think we did.
I reminded them how many things they have to improve off of yesterday's performance, as good as it was. And I went through 2 legal pads of notes covering everything that we had to get repaired before we go to Cleveland. You can't continue to fumble. You can't continue to miss tackles, wrap somebody up, and actually make the takedown. We had the initial hit was good, but we didn't finish enough tackles in that game. And they've got great backs, but we're going to face great backs every week. As he was going down, he moved his arm away from his body instead of pulling it into his body. That was the mistake he made. The other fumble that we recovered is the result of him reaching for the handoff, which is just a bad habit. And we're just going to make sure he has hundreds of exchanges out here this week to try to recover from that. But yeah, it's a concern because that's how you turn a game around.
Boomer Esiason may be the top-rated passer in the AFC, but Bernie Kosar is getting most of the attention as we prepare for another Bengals-Browns showdown. Kosar was sidelined by an elbow injury when the Bengals beat the Browns 5 weeks ago, but now Bernie's back.
He's playing real well. He's throwing the ball real well. He's making some good decisions out there. I think he's been off 6 or 7 weeks, but it doesn't show too much. He's doing a good job for us.
He does it with his physical tools, but mentally he's so sharp. He really gives us a lift.
Questions still remain about the strength of Kozar's elbow, and Bernie's actually thrown less this week in practice to avoid additional strain. But his biggest concern really isn't the elbow, it's the Bengals defense.
Right, the elbow's feeling pretty good. It held up real well last week, and the main thing I'm concentrating on is the Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Our biggest concern is their defense. You know, they've settled down to playing just a couple of defenses. The people they got playing in the defenses are very comfortable with it, and you get comfortable people playing with abilities, and then it makes success, and that's why they've been so successful.
The Bengals may be on top of the standings, but with Bernie back in the saddle, the Browns feel like they are still the top dog in the AFC Central, but they'll have to prove it on Sunday. From Cleveland, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. When Moses Cleveland founded the city of Cleveland back in 1796, I'm sure he never dreamt the talk of the town would center around the dogs. But Cleveland loves its Browns. Everywhere you go, it's Browns, Browns, Browns. In this city, with a name like Brown, I'd say old Virgil's a shoo-in for re-election. But one thing they don't have here in Cleveland are Bengal fans.
We don't know about the Bengals. They're not important.
We had one we threw out. He moved to Atlanta. We don't know what happened to him.
Oddly enough, Cleveland has its share of followers in Cincinnati. And keep in mind, we are fellow Americans from the same state. So why the strong dislike for Cincinnati and the Bengals up here in Cleveland?
Well, it's not that we dislike them, it's that we barely even acknowledge them.
Yeah, the dogs are going to chew them up on Sunday as we take.
And it's no surprise there's only one topic on this week's talk shows.
And what's with this name, the SWAT team, and you guys have a soft schedule and had no injuries. And you should be not Cincinnati. You're right on the border of that other state down there.
Yeah.
Kentucky Bengals, huh?
Yeah. Well,
that is a low blow. Speaking of low blows, we learned 2 years ago that even your own flesh and blood can turn traitor the week of the Bengals-Browns game. But Carly's almost 4 years old now, so she obviously knows the significance of some pregame candy. All right, here we go, honey. Now who are you and Chelsea going to root for this Sunday?
Come on, beat the Bengals!
So much for that bike she wants for Christmas. But at least my girls aren't nasty about this biannual grudge match, a game that the fans really get more obnoxious about than the players.
Well, that's it. You know, it's the fans and, you know, the press build it up to be that way. So, you know, it's a game that we both have to play and let the fans kind of beat it up, beat themselves up, because we can't get into things like that.
The other fans hate each other. It seems like it's coming down, and a few ball players are starting to hate each other. Coaches might even start hating each other before this is all over down the road.
And 2 days down the road, the Bengals and the Browns will decide one more time who gets the bragging rights to Ohio. From Cleveland, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. When the Bengals and the Browns get together, you never know if the real show is on the field or in the stands, where you'll see the doggonedest things. Halloween Eve, though, seemed to bring out the monster in everyone today. 80,000 ghouls all told to see the first-place Bengals take on the second-place Browns. Now, the Bengals turned down the crowd volume on the third play of the game as Ray Horton intercepts Bernie Kosar at midfield, but Boomer and company could not capitalize, and the Browns get the ball right back. Kosar then began to work the left side of the Bengals secondary. 21 yards to Clarence Weathers puts Cleveland at the Bengal 38. 2 plays later, Tim Manoa, subbing for the injured Kevin Mack, rips off 17 more and puts the Browns in field goal position, where Matt Barr later knocks it through from 34. That gives Cleveland a 3-0 lead midway through the first quarter. The Bengals' first 2 possessions netted just 30 yards, but the third time they got the ball, the boys went to work. Boomer to Ickey Woods for 16. James Brooks later breaks off a pair of 11-yard runs as the Bengals take it all the way down to Cleveland's 12. But on 4th and inches from the 12, the Bengals bypass the field goal, only to have Frank Minifield trip up Ickey for no gain as the Browns take over on downs.
It wasn't nothing. The defense squared outside, and one of the
outside guys hit me first and slowed down my momentum, and Minifield just held on and just pulled me down.
Moments after the Browns' big defensive play, David Fulcher comes up with one for the Bengals as he picks off this Kozar screen pass and takes it in for his first NFL touchdown as the Bengals take a 7-3 lead with 3:29 to play in the half.
Well, it was just a safety blitz, and the lineman picked me up, and I just happened to move over there and he threw the ball right in my face.
But the Bengals' emotional lift didn't last long. On the ensuing kickoff, the special teams failed to do the job as Herman Fontenot races by the Bengals some 84 yards before Fulcher and kicker Lee Johnson knocked him out of bounds at the Bengals 5.
We had a complaint with the official that one of our guys was shoved from behind, but they didn't see it, so that doesn't count. And whether that was enough to break them all the way or not, shouldn't have been.
2 plays later, Manoah takes it in from the 2 as Cleveland again regains the lead with 2:24 to play in the half.
Yeah, it was an off-tackle play, and I took my aiming point, everybody collapsed in, and I took it outside.
Up to this point, the Bengals offense had generated nothing, but you knew that would change. Boomer to Collinsworth for 18 yards to the 38. 6 plays later, Ira Hillary hauls in this 11-yard reception at the Cleveland 16, but time was winding down. James Brooks got the Bengals as close as the 5, but again, the Bengals offense fails to deliver the big blow in the red zone.
I think we're one of the best defenses in the league, but hey, we moved the ball on them, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't get the ball in the end zone when it came down to moving it down in tight.
At least this time, the Bengals got a field goal out of it. Jim Breach hits from 19 on the final play of the first half.
A lot of talk this past week about who's got the better defense, and so far it's been dead even. The Dogs have held Boomer to just 70 yards passing, while the SWAT team has picked Bernie off twice. It's also dead even where it counts on the scoreboard. Bengals and Browns 10-10 at the half.
It didn't stay that way for long as Kozar nickel and dimes the Bengals to death with short passes. This one to Reggie Langhorne puts it at the Bengal 25. And 4 plays later, Barr bangs home his second three-pointer of the afternoon as the Browns break the tie midway through the third quarter. But the game's biggest play was just moments away, and again it was turned in by the Cleveland special teams. Frank Minifield blocks Scott Fulhag's punt, and Fontenot recovers it in the end zone as the Browns extend their lead to 20-10.
It was something that we ran early in the game, and it didn't work because at the block point, Herman Fontenot went the wrong way, and it kind of got confused at the block point. But it happened at a strategic time in the game. It couldn't have came at a better time, and what they designed on the board, it worked like clockwork out there.
Suddenly, the Bengals had to come up with some points in a hurry. In other words, they had to pass. Boomer to Eddie Brown puts the Bengals in Cleveland territory. And then a few plays later, it's Tim McGee with a 24-yard catch down to the Browns' 15. But again, the drive stalls, thanks in part to Minifield, who breaks up this would-be touchdown pass to Brown.
I just really didn't adjust it, the proper way to make the catch. He made the big play, and, I never would question that.
Luckily, Minifield couldn't get to this Jim Breach field goal, and with 1:04 left in the third, the Bengals were back within 7. But on the first play of the fourth quarter, Kozar hooks up with Weathers for a huge 49-yard pickup to the Bengal 30. A big day for Weathers, who caught 7 balls for 140 yards.
It was a great pass. It was just one of those things where he laid it out there, and I just had to. He told me to go get it, and he was going to throw it out there, and that's what I did.
From there, the Browns give the ball to Manoah 5 straight times as the second-year back from Penn State sets up Matt Barr's third field goal of the game as Cleveland again ups its lead to 10 with 9:20 to play. Now it's time for the most interesting drive of the game, a drive that begins with back-to-back sacks by Clay Matthews. But on 3rd and 17, Boomer deals to Eddie Brown for a big 40-yard pickup. Eddie takes it all the way to the Cleveland 47. On the next play, Hanford Dixon is flagged for pass interference, a 29-yard penalty that takes the Bengals to the Browns' 18. 3 plays later, Boomer threads the needle to Brown, and just like that, it's 1st and goal at the Cleveland 3. Keep in mind now, the clock is running, and strangely enough, down by 10, the Bengals try to run, not once, but twice. And again, they're stopped and have to settle for yet another field goal.
We had 4 downs to get the ball in. Hey, that was just one of them. So we just didn't execute.
With just 5:25 to play, it was obvious Cleveland's job was to hold on to the football. And that's just what the Browns did, driving all the way to the Bengals 16 before giving it up on downs with just 7 seconds to play. By then, there was nothing the Bengals could do but hope and pray, and neither worked as the Browns sacked the first-place Bengals 23-16.
We're just excited about this win because, you know, this was a must game for us. If we'd have lost this game, we'd have fell 3 games behind, and now we're only 1. And the thing we have to do, we just have to keep winning and take 1 week at a time because they don't get any easier.
As far as the Bengals are concerned, though, the battle may have been lost, but the war is yet to come.
We're a team on the rise, and that we'll be there, and we'll probably play them again, and this time we'll be down in the jungle instead of the dog pound.
For now, though, it's back to the jungle where the Bengals will try to bag the Steelers next Sunday. From Cleveland, Steve Esposito for Sports of All Sorts.
It's hard for us to lose. We're used to winning, and it's just hard. So every one you lose is just a little harder.
We're all pretty disappointed and know that we could play better or should have played better, and wish we would have played better. But like you said, the sun's up, and we got a big game this weekend against Pittsburgh, and that's all we're getting ready for.
It's inexcusable. You can't even think about that happening, but it did. And we got out-hustled, out-executed, out-hit. They executed well. They performed better than we did, and that's not real good going into a game that was measured to be the most important game of the season up to this point in time.
To prepare that hard and then come away with a loss.
Well, sure, it's frustrating, but you have to, get set in your mind that you prepared your best, and if you look yourself in the mirror and say, I played the hardest I could play, you'll be ready to play next week.
The team was ready to play. It was a tough game, well played. I compliment our players and the Cleveland players. It was a well-played game, no interceptions, no fumbles, hard hitting. They happened to win it.
Not all horror films occur in small, quiet towns. Not all involve some supernatural being. Some occur in places like this. See Halloween Part 4, Bernie Lives. The story of an awkward, skinny kid left for dead out to gain revenge. See him hunt his prey one by one, slashing them to bits with his sidearm delivery. Halloween Part 4. Not to be confused with Psycho 5, Return to the Dog Pound. The first Psycho movie set apart from the Bates Motel. But this place is just as scary. See the good guys face the dog people of Cleveland. People with rude manners, loud voices, not to mention horrible English. See the out-of-towners wage war with the dog people, but beware the shower scene when a ton of dog business is showered on the foreigners. Other fall offerings: Nightmare on Sack Street, Who Wants to Quarterback? Jason is back, so is LT, Bubba, Reggie, behemoths from some far-off region whose lifeblood is a quarterback's hide. See the Blitz, the Sack, Nightmare on Sack Street. Also showing Poltergeist, Part 15, Get the Runt. The story of a handsome quarterback told to get lost, who comes back to haunt his team in a big day of trick-or-treating. He's back! Rated D for Ditka.
We all showed up and did our part to get our butts kicked.
Let us submit for your approval the play of the Cincinnati Bengals special teams, a team of another dimension, so accommodating, so sportsmanlike that they let an opponent sprint unmolested through their presence. Witness the play of the punt unit, careful to show good manners, not to block. You are entering a different world. Again, the special teams. You are entering the highlight zone. Also showing they're moving us back. They're wiping us out. They're the Zebras.
Clearly the worst officiating crew we've had this year.
See Fatal Subtraction. The flags are coming. Finally, set for a release next weekend, the story of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a saga so pathetic they reside in the bowels of the Central Division. The Steelers, once proud, now bowed. See their leaders snap, snarl, and scream, but he won't shake your hand. See Knoll of the Living Dead, coming soon to a neighborhood theater.
With 7 weeks left in the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of a handful of teams that can start thinking about next year. The Steelers have won just twice in 9 tries, but this is not a team to be taken lightly. In week number 3, they took the Bengals right down to the wire before losing 17-12.
The last 2 weeks have been a war, and I don't expect this to be any different. It's going to be a very physical game. It always is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, all I can tell you is that we're practicing hard, waiting for them to get here.
A couple of weeks back when the Steelers upset Denver, they used a few gimmick plays right out of Sam Weiss's bag of tricks. And with nothing to lose, it's likely we might see him give the Bengals head coach a taste of his own medicine this weekend.
Well, I don't know if they made fun or not. They did use the word wicky-wacky one time for me, and honestly, it stuck with me, and it was a problem for me because that is a derogatory term, the way it was used, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. But
that's all behind us now.
And right behind the Bengals now are the Browns and the Oilers, so this is indeed a big game for the guys in stripes.
It's a big one. I mean, we need to come back and get a win before our home crowd and just stay a game up on Cleveland and Houston, who will play one another next week. And, you know, the team that wins that game will still be one behind us should we win. So we need to win just to keep that cushion there.
And it's a cushion worth pushing for as the Bengals drive towards a spot in the playoffs. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. Welcome to the jungle, where the Bengals lowered the boom on the Steelers. And it was a record-breaking day for Eddie Brown, who caught 7 passes for 216 yards, including this 86-yard touchdown to the Bengals' second offensive play of the day.
We knew it was going to be a lot of zone, and they went back to that. We burned them with the man-to-man, so they had to go zone.
But the Steelers later equalized Brown's TD catch with this 9-yard touchdown run by Bubby Brister on the quarterback draw. The rest, though, was all Bengals. Late in the first quarter, Boomer hits Tim McGee on a quick slant, and the Bengals never looked back.
We just didn't play anything right. We couldn't stop anything. We couldn't stop a straight running play to the fullback.
The rout continues as Boomer teams with Brown for a 48-yard pickup to the Pittsburgh 29, a play that sets up the first of 3 James Brooks scores. JB fights his way in from the 4 or 5 plays later, and with 10:41 to play in the first half, it's a 21-7 game. It could have been worse, but with 8 seconds left in the half, Boomer's intercepted in the end zone by Hardy Nickerson, one of the Bengals' few mistakes in this game. Despite that last play, the Bengals still appear to be well on their way to win number 8. The offense has already churned out close to 300 total yards, while the defense has flat-stuffed Brister and company. Overall, an impressive first half and a 14-point Bengal lead. And it didn't take long for the Bengals to pad that lead. On the second play of the second half, Ickey Woods breaks loose for a 56-yard run as he takes it all the way down to the Steelers' 7.
It was there. The hole was there. Wasn't nobody around right in but me and the little corner guy, and just try to go over him.
A couple of plays after Woods' run, it's Brooks from the 2, and it's a 28-7 Bengals lead. On the Bengals' next possession, the old Esiason to Collinsworth combination works for 36 big yards to the Steelers' 6. And on the very next play, Boomer delivers 6 more to Eddie Brown as the Bengals increase their lead to 28. The game's final score comes early in the 4th. Again, it's Brooks, this time from the 9, as the Bengals crush the Steelers 42-7.
Obviously, the offense executed well. So from top to bottom, special teams, defense, and offense, it probably was our best game.
We've got some good competition coming up, but right now this team knows that it's capable of winning most of the remaining games on the schedule.
Now it's on to Kansas City and Dallas, where the Bengals hope to strengthen their hold on first place. From the stadium, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
We came into training camp, we made a conscious effort to figure out a way to get the ball to Eddie and just find out how good this guy could be.
What we're really finding out is that Eddie Brown is better than good. He's great, the most dangerous receiver in the league right now. Fast Eddie is burning defensive backs left and right, as he's on a pace to break Jerry Rice's all-time record for pass receiving yardage in one season.
He's a good one, and I'm just trying to get, the respect that he has. And right now, things are looking good. I want to just continue. I'm not even, I wasn't even thinking about it.
But Eddie Brown can't help but be cruel to opposing secondaries. He's averaging more than 24 yards per catch, and the fun begins once he gets his hands on the ball.
First of all, not only can he get open, but the exciting thing is watching him, of course, on film and on Monday, watching him run with the ball after he gets it. He's just got unbelievable not only speed, but the ability to stop and start. It's hard to really compare anybody in the league with him.
Whoever you try to compare Fast Eddie with, they better be a Pro Bowl caliber player. The past 2 seasons, Eddie's been slowed by injuries, but now he is making a serious bid to make his first All-Pro team.
Hopefully I can keep it up, and hoping my name is in the ballot, and I can become one of those All-Pros.
Eddie Brown may be on the verge of setting an NFL record, but the guy is far from perfect. Watch any Bengal game, and you can usually count on Eddie to drop at least 1 pass.
Yeah, well, back to running before you catch the ball. That's the worst thing about the receivers. You really want to get that that one step in before you catch the ball, and that really happened. You know, I can say it's concentration, really.
But Eddie makes so many big catches for us, too, that you just understand that everybody is, that he is human like everybody else. He's going to make a few mistakes.
Yeah, Fast Eddie might make a few mistakes, but if you ask anybody that he's burned, they'll tell you the guy's anything but human. Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. 4 weeks ago, the Bengals made the mistake of taking the New England Patriots for granted. This week, as they prepare for the 1-8-1 Kansas City Chiefs, you just get the feeling history will not repeat itself. The Bengals are fired up and chomping at the bit to get a shot at the only team to beat them during the preseason.
You can tell out here today that this is a serious business kind of a practice. I think the loss to New England was a lesson for all of us. I think also that we understand that Kansas City in the past has been a thorn in our sides.
I mean, you can tell by the way the guys are concentrating and practicing, especially today, and in the meeting rooms. I think the New England week taught us a lesson, and I don't believe the guys on the team will let it happen again.
While the Bengals are averaging almost 30 points per game, Kansas City is mired in a season-long offensive slump. The Chiefs have scored just 123 points in 10 games, second lowest in the NFL.
They've just killed themselves with penalties and mistakes and interceptions. So, you know, traditionally they've given us a hard time. We got to come in and play them just like we did Pittsburgh or Cleveland.
You know, they drive the ball and they'll fumble or intercept and get the ball intercepted. I think we just got to be mentally tough and ready for them.
And if the Bengals are ready for them, it'll be another long day for the Chiefs. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
After the New England game, this wasn't supposed to happen again, ever. The Bengals had learned their lesson. They wouldn't overlook anyone. The coach kept the whip at their heels all week in practice, but despite all the precautions, they lose to a team that had won only once before Sunday. The die was cast early, like on Kansas City's first possession, when they demonstrated they could pretty much have their way with the Bengals defense, at least between the 20-yard lines. They settled for the first of 5 Nick Lowry field goals, but somehow you had the feeling they would eventually cash in, because the Chiefs were buoyed by their early success.
Being on the field, everybody was saying that, you know, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game.
Cincinnati served notice it would get the ball into the end zone when it finally got its hands on the ball. Under a heavy rush, Boomer found Rodney Holman for a 24-yard completion as the tight end climbed the ladder. Ickey Woods, who rushed for 76 yards on 13 carries, toted the mail home from 4 yards out. With the extra point, it's Cincinnati 7-3, just as it was destined to be, right? Not exactly. Veteran Steve DeBerg went right back to work on the Bengals' sleepwalking defense. Again, the drive stalled, but Lowry collected another 3 points for the effort. It was a remarkably error-free football game to this point. No penalties, no turnovers. Oops, spoke too soon. Boomer looking for deep threat Eddie Brown, but instead finds all-pro safety Deron Cherry, the league leader now with 7 interceptions.
We know basically what they like to do. You know, they like to throw the ball to spots. I mean, there's certain receivers that they like to go to, on certain routes.
No return on the interception. Let the defense stuff him deep in their end of the field and force a punt. Yeah, right. What followed was the longest, in terms of number of plays, the longest drive against the Bengals I can ever remember. 23 plays, 87 yards. It consumed 12 minutes and 15 seconds. They only got another field goal out of it, but that gave them the lead at 9-7. It had to wear out the Bengals' defense, and more importantly, it kept the Bengals from putting points on the board.
It was a game that was very much ball control, and it really was going to be, I thought, throughout the game, whoever had the ball last was probably going to win.
Well rested with 1:52 left in the first half, it was business as usual for the #1 offense in the league. Boomer throwing strikes, his receivers using the sidelines to stop the clock. They moved steadily toward the go-ahead touchdown. They got it when Stanley Wilson waltzed untouched into the end zone with 14 seconds left as the first half ended Cincinnati 14-9. Get this, though, first half time of possession, I'll round it off for you. 23 minutes for the Chiefs, 7 minutes for Cincinnati. Okay, let's make some adjustments at halftime and knock these guys into next week, right? Absolutely. Boomer completed 11 of 22 for 157 yards. Tim McGee knocks down 27 here. It was then left to Esiason to scramble and then head for home from the 5-yard line on 3rd down. His touchdown withstood a videotape replay appeal. It's 21-9 with the extra point. But then the defensive lapses started to mount. Christian Okoye, the native Nigerian, an absolutely remarkable athlete, 6'1", 253 pounds and fast. Watch this.
48 yards, and Kansas City is back in business at the 34-yard line. DeBerg hooked up with Stephon Page for a 17-yard touchdown connection. It's 21-16 as they continue to belie their reputation as the league's doormat.
Anytime you don't play well, any team in the NFL can move the ball, and that's what they did. They ran it, passed it both. They just dominated the game from an offensive standpoint against our defense.
Every team in the NFL is a good ball club. I mean, the best record in the NFL can lose to the worst record any day if they're not ready to play. And we definitely didn't play our best game today.
Now hang on, a magical moment is upon us. The Bengals' Stanford Jennings gathers in the kickoff at the 2-yard line and sets sail for the longest kickoff return for a touchdown in the history of the franchise, 98 yards, eclipsing Willie Shelby's 97-yard return for a TD back in '76. With the extra point, it's 28-16, right back in control. Wrong. DeBerg, who has bounced around from San Francisco to Tampa to Denver, may have found a home in Kansas City, especially with receivers like Carlos Carson on his side. 22 of 37, 285 yards, his final numbers. But again, they couldn't click for 6 and settled for a 47-yard field goal from one-time Bengal Nick Lowry.
I think really we just kept moving the ball throughout the game, and we didn't lose confidence, and that was crucial.
Fourth quarter now, and the wheels, loosened earlier, start to fall off. Helped immeasurably by another special teams blunder. A blocked punt by Albert Lewis is recovered out of the end zone. It's a safety. What's more, the Bengals will have to kick it back to the Chiefs with just a 28-21 lead. Now, if you think that looked like old times, watch this. The Bengals defense an absolute sieve until the Chiefs get down close. Everybody is waiting for the big defensive play that would put these guys away. When David Grant sacked DeBerg for the only time in the game, well, you think here it comes. But there it goes. 2 plays later, when David Fulcher and Emil Harry are involved in a grinding 2-car collision in the end zone. No flag from the official closest to it, but here comes some joker from the near sideline. He never actually throws his flag, but it's an interference penalty nonetheless, and suddenly it's 1987 all over again, friends.
It was a good play by David, in my view. I told him to do that every time. That won't be called again in the next 99 tries. Too bad.
Okoye made short work of the 1 yard, and the point after ties it at 28 all. Minute 8 left. Hey, 2 timeouts to boot. Bengals can pull this out. At the least, they'll go to overtime and do it then. Well, they didn't even get a chance to get to the plate for that final swing and a homer because Mark Logan fumbled the ensuing kickoff. Chiefs recover at the Cincinnati 28. They ground out 3 running plays to center it up for Lowry, who kicked the final nail in the box. Never any doubt that you were going to make the winning kick.
Well, let's put it this way. If I started thinking about, well, do I doubt myself now? I would never have made it.
This is ridiculous. There's no way we should have lost to a team like this, especially the way we did. It's ridiculous.
To think that a team that has won only 1 game all season can knock off a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations just goes to show you that on any given Sunday in the NFL, any kind of crazy thing can happen. From Arrowhead Stadium, Dennis Jansen, Channel 9 Sports.
This is probably the worst loss since I'm here.
You feel sick in there.
I don't know how many times it's happened to us, and a couple of times we've been able to, handle it and then and overcome it. But sooner or later it's just going to come up and bite you. And sometimes people got to understand that special teams is just as important as every other phase of the football game. And right now, some people are lacking that.
Yesterday was one of those days you found yourself saying over and over again, I can't believe it. I can't believe what I just saw. Because for the second time in 3 weeks, mental breakdowns by the special teams helped cost the Bengals a ball game. I mean, what's the deal here?
I think the desire and just really knowing that we can perform, and I think the confidence level is just going to have to be a little higher right now because we're going through some problems, but it's something that can be fixed.
Mike Stock is the man who's in charge of trying to fix the Bengals special teams mess-ups, but obviously there's only so much you can do in the final 30 to 45 minutes of practice.
Well, you've got to be almost like a Baptist preacher. You've got to come and you've got to preach and you've got to be persistent and you've got to make sure that your message gets across. We're trying to get that done.
Do you think it's working?
Yeah, I think it'll work.
Up until now, it seems like the Bengals are really taking their special teams play for granted. But I think this team learned a valuable lesson in Kansas City. Maybe just a reminder that the special teams play is just as important to victory as the offense and the defense.
Now that it's happened to us twice, really realize how important it is. And I think, without the coaches even having to try to motivate us, I think, we as players we're going to do it ourselves from now on.
Will we see a new attitude next Sunday?
There better be, or we're going to have a struggle time again like we did against the Browns and against the Chiefs. There has to be a different attitude, and I think there will be.
Let's hope so. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. It was a blustery day at Spinney Field today where the Bengals conducted their first full-scale workout since Sunday's disappointing defeat in Kansas City. Immediately after that loss, head coach Sam Weiss said the Bengals would be starting from scratch this week. Considering the fact they've lost 3 of their last 5, a fresh start might be just what the Bengals need.
We had a long conversation within our team on Monday. We just had a team meeting with no coaches in there. The players said what they had on their mind, and the biggest thing that came out of that, I felt, was just the fact that, hey, win or lose, we're all going to make our mistakes during the year, but we've got to hang in there together.
We're together. I'm going to make sure I clear that up, that there's not a distance between us, but we just want to make sure we can get back to the same attitude we had when we first started the season up in Wilmington and when we came in and played against Phoenix, that no one was going to beat us.
Last week we described Kansas City as a team hungry for a victory. Well, this week's opponent, Dallas, is more than just hungry. The Cowboys are starving. They haven't won a game in nearly 2 months and are coming off their worst defeat in 18 years.
Well, their defense is a lot of man coverage. They like to blitz a lot. Bates is one of the best safety blitzers that we have faced and will face in football. They've got a defense that really gets stung by the big play, but rarely do they give up things time after time.
3 years ago, the Bengals ripped the Cowboys 50-24, so let's hope they still have a few points left over for this Sunday's game. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. The Dallas Cowboys, they were known as America's team, a team that always seemed to find some way to win, a team that most every young football player dreamed of one day playing for.
By the time you get in the National Football League, they're not quite as popular as they were when you were a kid. But when you were a kid, man, to be on the Dallas Cowboys was everything.
White again under pressure, goes deep for Dorsett. He has it. Touchdown, Tony Dorsett.
The Cowboys posted a record 20 consecutive winning seasons from 1966 through 1985. But now they are in the midst of their 3rd straight losing season. And the people in the Big D are calling for Coach Tom Landry's head.
All the championship teams he's had, all the great records and years that he's had, he certainly hadn't become illiterate in terms of football. Fans get disenchanted with poor records. I don't think they really do get enchanted with coaches or players. They don't really care the names of people out there. They want to win, and that's their disenchantment.
It's a bitter pill for Cowboy fans to swallow. Their team has the worst record in the league. And after watching Minnesota dismantle Dallas 43-3 this past Sunday night, it looks like the Cowboys' rebuilding program is stuck in reverse.
They're in the same boat we were in a year ago. We were working hard. We were trying to get things done. We just couldn't win. I don't care how hard you try, you just can't win a ball game. It's just the things that just don't turn around your way, and that's what's happening right now.
But despite all the Cowboys' problems, they are still the Dallas Cowboys, a team the Bengals must beware of, and certainly a team the Bengals must beat as we enter the playoff stretch.
We're on our stretch run right now, and I don't think this team has ever had I know as long as I've been there, we've never had this opportunity to go and prove to people that we can play, and I think this year is going to be the year.
But only if the Bengals start to turn things around this Sunday in Dallas. Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
It's quiz time. When is a football player not a football player? Answer, when he's a bit player in the drama known as the old play-action fake.
You try to be an actor out there, and that's basically what you're doing. You're trying to reenact a running play that a team has basically been seeing you run constantly.
It's an extremely good fake where the offensive line's faking as if they were running the ball, not semi-faking. They're running the ball and setting up to pass and then throwing the ball deep.
The play starts with the linemen showing run by their blocking schemes. The quarterback then exhibits his sleight of hand with the fake to the running back. But he keeps the ball and heads back for the pocket to set up for the pass. In this case, it goes to Rodney Holman, and the end result is a touchdown.
And that's basically what we've been striving for, is make somebody tackle the running backs and make it think it's a play fake.
The ones fooled in this grand deception are the defense, the linebackers in particular, and sometimes a safety valve gets clogged.
For the most part, the play fake has to fool the underneath coverage, and then you're going to try and go up. the free safety comes out of the middle to try and support on the corner there, and we just go whoosh right by him. I bet you 4 or 5 of Eddie Brown's long touchdown passes have been on exactly that.
The treachery depends on every player playing out his role, but according to Collinsworth, the backs are the key.
The thing that makes it work so well is that our running game's working so well. They're forced to do that. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go 5-6 yards a pop and then every once in a while break one. So it all kind of revolves around the fact that we can run the football, and if you can do that, then everything else opens up.
It's 3 levels, and all 3 levels have to be done and executed to a certain point that you can fool the other team.
And here you thought these guys were always on the up and up. Not quite. These All-Americans can act, fake, and bluff with the best of them, all for the sake of the grand illusion.
It seems to be an almost weekly thing, a Bengal being named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Boomer won the award the first 2 weeks of the season. Then it was Ickey Wood's turn in week number 6. Eddie Brown received the honor 2 weeks ago, and this week's winner is James Brooks. 5 winners from one team in just 12 weeks.
Oh, I feel great. I mean, I have to really take my hat off to the lineman. Off the line, like I say, went from them. A lot of things I couldn't do, and I think they deserve more than I do.
Of course, the Bengals are much more concerned about Sunday's game with Buffalo than Player of the Week awards. The Bills possess the top-rated defense in the NFL, limiting opposing teams to less than 13 points per game.
I'm not sure if we can yet label them as good as the Bears were, the great year that they had, or the New York Giants when they had that super year a couple of years ago, but if they're not there yet, they're getting there.
I mean, when you have the number 1 defense in the league, you're stuffing a lot of people running the ball and throwing the ball. So we know going into this game that it's going to be a very tough game for us to get anything.
By the way, if Buffalo wins this game, the Bills capture the home field advantage for the length of their stay in the AFC playoffs. Obviously, this is something the Bengals would like to prevent, if at all possible.
Well, we're hoping those guys are having a nice big Turkey Day celebration up there, maybe a couple of Hootie Golds up there or something. And, they should enjoy themselves. They clinch their division. They should relax, take it easy. Come on in here, because we're kind of banged up. We won't be ready to play anyway.
Right. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
Part of the fun for the fans, too, of course, to get excited and part of the event.
And there's no denying that Bengal fans have made themselves a part of the event. In fact, they have made themselves a part of this team. Just check out any area sporting goods store where the sale of Bengal merchandise is up close to 200% from last season.
Last year I had a lot of Bengals items left over that went out of here the first month. The Bengals were winning. So it really helps me out.
Needless to say, when the Bengals win, so do the retailers. Everywhere you look, it's orange and black, and the number of different items is mind-boggling. You want to look like Sam Weish on game day? Well, buy a Sam look-alike jacket. Or maybe you'd like to strap on a helmet just like the big boys do. Perhaps you think you've seen Santa at the stadium? Well, wonder no more. It's pretty obvious who his favorite team is. Need a hat? Plenty of those to choose from, folks. And when it comes to shirts and sweatshirts,
They keep coming out with new ones. The more they win, the more types of shirts that come out, the more people that are buying them, and everybody wants a different shirt than Tom or Joe, the guy next door to them.
But again, it's not surprising that the sale of all this stuff decreases the week after a loss. But during the week prior to a home game, boy, oh boy, does that cash register sing.
Yeah, definitely. And when they have a home game that, regardless if they lost the week before, we still get the fans in here buying orange and black shirts or sweatpants, hats, anything. They want to wear their colors down on the field, regardless if they're losing or not.
Now that takes us back to 1981, the Bengals' last super season, the year they went to the Super Bowl. Sales were excellent then, but not nearly as good as they are right now.
No, it was pretty bland 7 years ago. It was orange and black, and all we had were black T-shirts with orange Bengals on them, and that was about it. Now we've got black shirts with orange stripes and 2-color lettering and all kinds of wild stuff out.
So after being a Dallas Cowboy fan my entire life, I am finally prepared to make the switch, prepared to make the transition into Bengals superfan. But then again, if things don't go as planned this weekend, I better have a backup. It was a day we'd find out if Buffaloes could survive in the jungle, as the Bengals and their fans were praying for a victory over the Bills. And James Brooks comes up with a heavenly touchdown run late in the first quarter, giving the Bengals a 7-0 lead.
On the Bengals' next possession, Boomer fakes the give to Ickey Wright, rolls left, and hits JB for a 13-yard TD as the orange and black increase their lead to 14.
Well, excuse aside, they're just a very good team. You know, and you have to be at your peak, and you have to play flawless ball to beat a team of that caliber.
The route continues late in the first half as Ickey Woods takes it in from the 2 and then does a mini shuffle to celebrate a 21-0 lead.
The offensive line was blowing them off the ball, and we were running outside on them, so they were flowing real hard, so I just cut back on them, and, you know, it just happened to work for me today.
Buffalo finally gets on the board with 1:07 to play in the half. Rob Riddick's 1-yard run pulls the Bills to within 21-7 at the break. All Bengals in the first half as they have shredded the NFL's top defense to pieces. Nearly 300 total yards and 19 first downs, most of it on the ground. Heck, Buffalo's hardly had the football, so they have to consider themselves extremely lucky to be within 14. But it was the Bengals who were lucky in the second half. With the Bills driving, David Fulcher picks off an errant Jim Kelly pass in the end zone.
I had Andre Reed open in the end zone, coming across the middle, and I saw exactly where it was. I aimed the ball perfect, just didn't come off right, and it was an interception that I threw that, you know, you wish you had it back again to try it once more, but it happens.
11 plays and 80 yards later, Ickey dives in from the 1, and that gives the Bengals what appears to be a comfortable 28-7 lead. But back come the Bills. Working the 2-minute drill, Kelly teams with Ronnie Harmon. That makes it 28-14 late in the third. A couple of minutes later, Kelly connects with Andre Reed for an apparent touchdown. Reed, however, is ruled out at the 1-yard line.
I thought I was in. I'd seen a replay. I thought I was in for a TD, but, you know, it happens like that. I was kind of perturbed, but, you know, it doesn't go your way all the time.
No big deal, though, as Riddick takes it in on the next play as the Bills cut it to 7 with 14 minutes to play. But again, the Bengals are saved by a Buffalo turnover. Kelly to Riddick, who has the ball jarred loose by Tim Crumry, and Lewis Billups falls on it at the Bengal 35.
I rushed the passer and came off the block and just had a good angle on him, and I hit him just right and stripped the ball loose. And it was a good turnover, and it was the right time.
The Bengals then put together a 65-yard, 9.5-minute scoring drive, capped off by Ickey Woods' third TD of the game, as the Bengals hold on to beat the Bills 35-21.
Just everything clicked, and when you play the big games, if you're a good team, you have to have that kind of a day.
And if the Bengals can click again next Sunday against San Diego, they'll earn their first playoff berth in 6 years. From the stadium, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
Well, it's good. I really didn't know it existed until today. I knew it was a Defensive Player of the Week every week pick, but if I was a Player of the Month, it's just a good feeling that the rest of my peers realize what kind of player I am.
A lot of great defensive players in this league, and for you to be the one that stands out for the month of November says a lot for you.
Well, it's a good honor, and there's a lot of players out there I'm sure as well deserved as I is, but it's just a good feeling.
It was just a nice, quiet game of touch football between the offensive linemen. You know these guys, the earth shakes when they walk.
Average 6'6", close to 300-pound men. I mean, they're big.
No doubt about that. The old linemen facing the new linemen on Monday. These guys have a chance to map out the plays. They throw the passes, make the catches, and sprint downfield like Eddie Brown. That's the offensive lineman's day for glory. But more and more these days, you're hearing about the offensive linemen on Sunday, too. The Bengals whip Dallas, Tom Landry says.
They're so strong up front. And
the Bengals bruise Buffalo, Marv Levy says.
This is a team with a great offensive line.
In other words, you can't talk about the success of the Bengals without mentioning the efficiency of their offensive line.
There were portions of that game that we really did dominate their defense.
No doubt about it. There were holes yesterday that Ickey Woods, Larry Kinnebrew, and Pete Johnson combined would have fit through.
By far, this is the very best line we've ever had here. Cumulative or all together at the same time.
Jim McNally is the architect of this line, in line with names like Munoz, Reimers, Kozerski, Montoya, and Walter across the front. At a tight end, you're approaching a ton of blocking power, but power orchestrated to flatten the opponent.
We only run 3 or 4 plays. They look different at times because of the formations, but we concentrate on running the same plays over and over and over again.
They've done it so well that the Bengals are #1 in total offense, #1 in rushing offense. You can see why yesterday. The Bengals had to control the ball, and they did with the run.
I guess I'm the kind of guy, if they told me that we could run the ball every time, I'd be happy.
Maybe he would. Maybe the linemen are content with that on Sunday. But on Monday, they go to the air. By the way, the old linemen won. At least they said they did. John Popovich, Channel 9 Sports.
It's been a long season for the San Diego Chargers. Once the most prolific scoring team in the league, the Chargers are now struggling offensively. In fact, only Detroit has scored fewer points this season. But San Diego is one of those teams just due to beat somebody, and the Bengals want to make sure it's not them.
We better be ready for a team that's due. The fact that they haven't scored in the past has nothing to do with what they'll do Sunday. We have to play the very best football game we've played because everything's on the line again.
One reason why San Diego has had such a difficult time scoring points is that they just don't have a quarterback. Their starter, a young guy named Mark Vlasic's out with a leg injury, so that means the Bengals will probably face their old buddy Mark Malone this Sunday.
You know, he's kind of been a thorn in our side when he was playing in Pittsburgh. He always seems to have the best games when he comes to Cincinnati, so hopefully that won't be the case. But if it is the case, you know, we'll be prepared to score as many as it takes, and you know, and hopefully we can rise to the occasion again.
He has some good games against us, and you know, sometimes his build is inconsistent, but when he's hot, he's as good as anybody. And you know, he's a big physical guy, and he's a hard man to sack.
The odds makers, though, obviously are not impressed with Malone or the Chargers because they have made the Bengals a big 13-point favorite.
Well, we can't bet, so I don't pay attention to it. So long as we play like we've been playing the last 2 weeks, hopefully that point spread come true.
The Bengals' only real concern right now is not beating the spread, it's beating San Diego and earning their first playoff berth in 6 years. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
I think we could still do it, but it's almost impossible to win a world championship coming out of the wild card thing, because you got to beat too many good teams in a row and keep yourself up, and you know, and one little bad play can knock you out of the whole thing. But if we could work it out and play 2 home playoff games here, then I like our chances.
Sam, would you admit that this is not a typical Monday at work, that this is the day after you've achieved a plateau of sorts, the first time that the Bengals team under your direction has achieved the playoffs?
Well, it's an achievement that I haven't been able to do as the head coach. It's an achievement that the staff hasn't been able to celebrate as a group. So that's a milestone. I hope it's not a plateau. I hope we're going to keep on going from here.
Sam, do you feel vindicated by the events of this season to date?
Well, vindication is not the right word. I'm sure happy that the team's turned it around, and the team has done that, the position coaches and the players, and I've been a part of it. But all of us went through a tough year, and we all knew that we were a little better than we were last year. We all knew that we had the chance, if everything went just right and injuries didn't happen, to have a real good year, and so far that's taken place. But vindication, I'm not sure that I was unfairly talked about. I didn't like what I was hearing, but it wasn't unfair.
Are you saying that a lot of the criticism of you last year was perhaps warranted?
Well, I think it's expected.
Do you ever think back to the times, and you might not have worried about it at all, think back to the times when you thought, I'm going to have to start looking for a job, I think I'm going to be fired?
No, never. I never gave that. I've never worried about whether I could find employment or worried about whether I was doing a competent job.
But you never thought at any point that you would be let go?
Oh yeah, but I never worried about it. Sure, I knew there was a possibility. In fact, there was a probability at one point there, just listening to what everybody was saying.
You faced what I could characterize, and I think a lot of people would agree, the ultimate pressure this year. You were essentially told win or who knows.
Well, that's not the first time that's been said to somebody in this business, but there was a tremendous amount of pressure on all of us to win early. You had no grace period. We had a tremendous amount of pressure to win during the preseason, honestly. I mean, not so much from the Brown family. That wasn't going to happen from them, but from the public and from, you know, the critics. And then after we won several in a row, it was the critics were slow to let go. They wanted to predict the downfall and the collapse. Well, that just hadn't happened, and I don't think it's going to.
To a generation of Bengals fans, the name Chris Collinsworth is synonymous with Cincinnati football. The rangy Floridian, a second-round draft pick in 1981, possessed that rare combination of performance, pizzazz, and personality that made him an immediate fan favorite. In recent years, though, injuries, strikes, and the inevitable challenge from draft choices have conspired to rob him of valuable playing time, making him feel somewhat the odd man out.
Yeah, a little. I mean, you look in the newspaper and our football team scored 420-something points, and you know, a quick check of my stats showed how many I contributed to that.
To hear him tell it to fan reaction Sunday to his first touchdown since the last game of the '86 season left him somewhat flustered.
It feels good to get that monkey off my back because it's almost like the people in the stands, and I know they're cheering for me, but it's almost like a come on, sympathy kind of cheer, you know, like you would for your younger brother or something. So I'm happy they can just watch me be a football player now.
The reality of the situation, though, is that the Bengals are blessed with a great core of receivers, of which Chris is still an integral but not the most important part. Always a team player, though, he says he can handle it.
Well, I like to think that I'm the second and a half wide receiver because I'm in there, and Timmy and I are alternating series now on the thing, and I'd like to play more. Timmy'd like to play more, but it's really worked out pretty well.
The fact remains, though, that Chris has outlived the life expectancy of wide receivers' playing careers, but a season like this makes him put any thoughts of hanging it up out of mind.
Having been through what we've been for the past 5 years here with no playoff teams and really a lot of problems, it's so much fun to be a part of this team. And the people, it's not that they're that much different than what they were last year, but to see winning faces on some of these people that have been around here and had such hard times for so long, it's just a lot of fun. So I hope my body will hold up and let me play a couple more. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated over the past couple of weeks.
Is there anyone that's really turned this team this year?
Well, you know, we have a lot of players that's doing pretty well, but I think one person that's really stood out. I mean, everybody's standing out, but I really think that stood out and really been a leader. I have to give it to Boomer. A year ago, after the strike and the things that went down in the strike, I think Boomer took it really, really serious and personal. That it was like a family problem. And coming in this year, he said some things to the players. He's really spoken that. What happened last year is over with, and now this is a new team. And I think when Boomer's going right and things are going well for Boomer, I think things are going well for the Bengals.
The reason we're winning is you can't point to one guy. If we could point to one guy, then if he gets hurt, we're in trouble. And that's not the case. Boomer's had a great year, and your quarterback has to play well. We've had a couple of young rookies come through and play well for us, Ickey Woods being one. Stanley Wilson returned and has done a good job. James Brooks has had an all-pro year offensively. Defensively, our defensive backfield has come through as a group. Our pass rush is markedly improved. Our linebackers are playing better than they ever have as a group. Our special teams probably have lagged behind, but this club doesn't have a real weakness, and therefore I think everybody has to share the credit.
It's happened only 3 times in Bengal history. A Central Division title, 1970, 1973, and most recently the Super Bowl season, 1981. But now a 4th divisional championship is in the air. You can feel it at Spinney Field, where the Bengals have just one thought in mind: beat the Oilers on Sunday.
This is the kind of game that the NFL is all about. Actually, I consider this a playoff preview. 2 quality football teams vying for an opportunity for the proper position to enter the playoffs.
So much has been said about the House of Pain, otherwise known as the Astrodome. The Oilers had won 10 straight games there until the Steelers outgunned them this past Sunday night. So now the Bengals are confronted with the unenviable task of dealing the Oilers a 2nd straight painful loss at home.
You know, they're going to be really hyped up, but still, no matter what, when we play each other, it's going to be one of those type of games. So, you know, Pittsburgh just, you know, did what they had to do to win. So we're going to have to do the same once we get down there.
So will it be home sweet dome for the Oilers or a division championship for the Bengals? Really, Houston needs to win this game more than the Bengals do. But don't you dare tell that to these guys.
Well, they're going to be a little hungry, and we're hungry too. This is the first time in my 6-year career that we're so-called in the playoffs. So if that's not enough to motivate me and the rest of the team, I don't think anything is.
Both of us feel like we have to win this ball game. They have the advantage because it's at their home. We have a good team, they've got a good team. It's just one of those games where you're going to go back and forth, and it's like arguing politics. You don't know, last one in, I guess, feels like they won.
And in football, just like politics, it's always nice to be the front runner. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
It looked like both sides came out a little tense. The Oilers missed a bomb, the Bengals missed a bunny. There were more flags being thrown than footballs for a while. Not that there was a lot of agreement from the sidelines on that issue, though. The Bengals had their share of problems with the striped guys early. Eddie Brown got a big gainer to the 2-yard line in the first period. That got called back. The next play saw the mugging of Chris Collinsworth. The camera spotted it, but the officials did not. The Oilers drew first blood in the quarter. Mike Rozier with a punishing run on a draw play. It was 7-0 Houston. While the fans got out their pom-poms, the Oilers kept giving it to Rozier with great success. A 15-yard run started the second quarter. It was a 2-touchdown Houston lead. The Bengals came back with a field goal, but the Oilers started to go crazy. Darryl Smith has Haywood Jeffries covered like a glove, but Jeffries managed to grab the ball in midair. He made a terrific catch. That sets up a touchdown pass, this time Warren Moon to Curtis Duncan. Meanwhile, the Bengals offense was trying to move forward. The Oilers didn't let it happen. Esiason was sacked 3 times for sizable losses. In the second half, very little change. The Bengals were fouling up, and the Oilers were cashing in with a big play after big play. Mike Rozier had a tremendous day with 126 yards rushing. This was his 3rd touchdown of the afternoon. The Oilers were rolling, and the Bengals were beaten, soundly beaten today at the Dome.
You got beat badly.
We got whipped, no question, and we were going into that game wanting to win it as badly as any game we've ever been into, but they wanted to win it more. They outplayed us. The one thing that we've got to keep in perspective is we're 11-4. We had a horrible Sunday afternoon, but we've had a tremendous season, and we're not going to lose sight of that because we've got one more game to finish it off.
Any reflection on staying with Boomer and staying with Ickey and your frontline guys late in the game, which ultimately resulted in an injury to Ickey?
Well, it did. We hope Ickey will be okay, but at that point in the game, we didn't want to concede. It was too early in the game to be saying, okay, we give. What we wanted to do was see if we could establish something, get ourselves back on track, knowing that this was just one game. It wasn't the end of the season. It was close to the end. And we wanted to get ourselves one good, solid drive.
If the Bengals ever needed a pick-me-up from Sunday's thumping in Houston, this is it. 7, count them, 7 Pro Bowl selections. Boomer Esiason leads an almost all Bengal lineup of offensive starters, which includes offensive tackle Max Montoya and first-time Pro Bowler Eddie Brown.
Well, it's great. You know, like I say, I accomplished most of my goals right now for this season. You know, I still have a few more to go, so it's great, and I'm just looking forward to getting there.
Of course, when Pro Bowl selections are named, it's a given that Anthony Munoz's name will be on that list. Anthony is making his 8th consecutive Pro Bowl appearance, breaking a team record he previously shared with Lamar Parrish.
It's an honor. I mean, I tell you, I'm just as excited today as I received the notice the first couple times.
2 other Bengals have been named as AFC reserves, tight end Rodney Holman, who will be making his first Pro Bowl appearance, and running back James Brooks, who will be there for a 2nd time.
Well, it's showing they respect me around the league, and that means a lot to me because all my life I wanted to be respecting the NFL, and I'm getting an opportunity.
The only Bengal defensive player to be named to the AFC squad is nose tackle Tim Crumry, who at long last is getting the recognition he so richly deserves.
Well, it feels great. It's an accomplishment I worked all off-season and all summer for, and during the season. I'm happy a lot of the guys in the team made it, but I'd like to see a little more, but it'll be a good feeling having some more striped helmets over there.
Now, David Fulcher could conceivably be the 8th Bengal selection. He finished in a tie with the Oilers' Keith Bostic, and whichever team wins the division, their player goes to the Pro Bowl.
If they were going to go by teams, then they should take the Cincinnati Bengals to the Pro Bowl, but it's just something I can't control. I'm just going to go out and play and do what I have to do.
7, possibly 8 Bengals in the Pro Bowl game, a testament to just how fine a season this team is having. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports. It's happened only 3 times in NFL history. 2 backs on the same team, each rushing for 1,000 yards in the same season. Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris did it for the Dolphins in 1972. Franco Harris and Rocky Blyer accomplished the feat for the Steelers in '76. And 3 years ago, the Browns' Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner did it. Why, though, is this such an infrequent occurrence?
Most teams don't have 2 good running backs. It's pretty hard to accumulate a couple of good ones. And if you've got a good running back, generally you feature him. You keep giving him the ball. If he's Eric Dickerson, you want him to have the ball as much as you can.
The Bengals, though, have a pair of backs ever so close to adding their names to that select group. Rookie Ickey Woods needs just 49 yards to reach 1,000.
So you're good for at least 49 yards, right? Oh, most definitely good for 49. And I think after I get my 49, then we can work on JB's.
JB is James Brooks, who is only 81 yards shy of 1,000. Now, Brooks has rushed for 1,000 yards in a season before, but
to have 2, that means a lot because two guys carrying the ball a lot, and you're peeking against other backs in the league, and it's showing you how well the offense played. That's what the offensive line did.
Let's not forget about the coach's role as well. Sam knows all about this potential record, but obviously his first and only real priority is to win this football game.
We won't even be thinking about who's got how many yards. It's how do we win this ball game. And if we're doing well, if we're playing well, both of them will get the ball enough to have a chance to get those 1,000 yards. But that's that's not even secondary. That's way down the line in terms of importance. Winning the game's the only thing.
What's most impressive about Ickey Woods here is that 3 games into the season, Ickey had carried the ball just 6 times for 15 yards. So he has pretty much rushed for almost 1,000 yards in just a dozen games.
Pretty much so. I've come around and learned the system, really. The first 3 games, I didn't know the system as well as I do now. And now I'm gradually learning the system. I gradually learned, and then they threw me in there, and it proved to be right for the Bengal organization. I went out and played every game like it was my last game, and I played to my heart was content.
By the way, the closest a Bengal duo has ever come to this mark was back in 1973 when Essex Johnson finished 3 yards shy of 1,000 and Booby Clark missed by just 12. Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
We wanted to win it outright, and we didn't want to back up into the playoffs, and we did that today. And thank God, we just have a little luck today.
We know it's going to be a tough game. It's just a situation. We had luck going our way at first. A lot of things we had to come over, and things happen like that, and it's good to get ready for the playoff that way.
It was nice to come down to a kick like this, that I could be a difference in a ball game, and I feel real good. I feel great for the guys. Get that week off, and go into hopefully with a little confidence going into the playoffs.
There's really no feeling one way or another. Again, like I said, the main feeling right now, the main enjoyment of this all is that we did win the division. We got a week off. With my experience in the '81 playoffs and having the home field advantage, being able to play both games, the first round and the AFC Championship game, Lord willing, we go that far. It's very key, especially with the fans we have here at the Jungle. It'll be their second straight week, not only playing each other but beating each other up, and it's going to probably be another cold day up there, a very physical game. I don't know, it's really hard to pick someone right now, but again, the home field plays such a big part in a game, and then especially in a playoff game.
I'm just wearing a splint, and it's just a minor thing. It's a precautionary measure by our doctors, and I'm sure by Thursday we'll be back to normal. Even if we had to play this week, I'm sure by Thursday we'll be back to normal. I'll be able to play.
As you know, everybody's pretty much banged up after the Washington game, and we're happy to get this week off so we can get our muscles and everything back in tune, so when the Seattle Seahawks come to town, we can take care of business.
To me, I would prefer to go ahead and keep playing, because once I stop, I want to stop and rest. But the last couple of days that we had off, when I woke up this morning, I really didn't feel like getting up, but I knew I had to come back. But now that, we had this day's practice in, I don't think it should hurt me about anything. I think the players do like the rest, but I'm one that don't like it. I would rather just go ahead and get it out the way.
Security is as tight as a drum this week at Spinney Field. Kids who usually sneak through the gates have to settle for a seat outside, which is about the same treatment this TV crew from Seattle got today.
We have put on some pretty tough restrictions and just trying to be courteous, but at the same time trying to allow the team to get the job done for a big game.
But it's awful difficult for the players to concentrate on their job with the media. All week long, it's almost been like a pre-Super Bowl week. Reporters asking the same questions, writing the same stories, and getting the same answers. Distractions the players have no choice but to deal with.
There are distractions that comes just being in the playoffs. So, the media hype and, the press, you just got so much commotion going on. It's hard to concentrate on that game, and I think Sam's done a heck of a job, making us focus in on what we have our goals set for and to reach that goal.
Distractions are a real factor in getting ready for a football game, especially when you've got the hype of a playoff game.
For almost 2 weeks now, Cincinnati has been talking about this one football game, and I really get the impression that Bengal fans have already chalked Seattle up as a victory. All that really does is put more pressure on the Bengals not to disappoint.
Well, it does, but still, we still have to go out and give it that 100%. Seattle is, it's not going to be a cakewalk. We can look forward to just having a good game.
I mean, if we take these guys lightly, they'll come in and blow us out, and how embarrassing and ridiculous would that be? So they are a very good football team, solidly coached by Chuck Knox, and they're riding a high, and we have to somehow derail them.
And if the Bengals do derail Seattle, we'll go through the same thing again next week. From Spinney Field, Steve Esposito, Channel 9 Sports.
It was the Bengals' first blast of the winter season.
It was hard, just to get your body warmed up. once we got warmed up, it was all right.
The first inclination was to harken back to the Super Bowl year when playoff conditions were less than balmy.
It's really hard. It's been so long, it's hard to really remember how things were.
Well, they were mind-numbing, brutal, clearly dangerous. Today, by contrast, was mild. Just put on the gloves, pull up the hood, cover your face.
The snow makes it kind of fun. You know, you're out there playing football in some snow, and there's a couple of snowballs thrown around.
I'm glad it turned cold. I think the probability of it being this type of day as opposed to one that we had yesterday is much more likely.
In other words, with Cincinnati's weather, prepare for anything.
It gives us a chance to get acclimated to these type of situations, catch the ball, run around, get used to the feeling of the cold on us.
But how will this affect the players, especially those that have to handle the ball?
Quite frankly, it's an advantage, I think, to the offense, especially the passing game, if you can grip the ball.
I don't think it's going to bother us. I think, I don't know if Seattle's going to really handle it.
I don't think the weather is going to hurt them. I remember we played them a couple years ago where it snowed the entire first half and rained the entire second half, and it was really one of the most miserable days I've ever been a part of playing football. And yet they beat us that day.
Beat them soundly, we might add. Doing the damage, Dave Craig, who will quarterback Saturday. Mr. Weather Bob Allen doesn't forecast snow for Saturday, but he says there might be rain. And in a game this big, that could make a difference.
You know, the great thing about it, if it does snow, is everybody's about the same speed out there, which definitely favors me.
Behind every Cincinnati snowstorm, there's a silver lining. John Popovich, Channel 9 Sports.
Realize what type of ball club they have, and they are super. I mean, that's why they're where they're at right now. But you never can be overconfident, and I don't think anybody is. But everybody's, you know, has the confidence that you need going into a game like this.
I know Jim Kelly wants to settle a score with me personally, and I think that we feel the same way. You know, I know when we play against the best people in the NFL, we get up for that game, and that's exactly what happened the last time we played them.
And this means more to me than anything. We put friendship aside until after that snap, because Boomer is one of my better friends, but once we take that field, we're enemies.
Second half of that ball game was, there's always been complaints that they don't unleash Jim Kelly, that maybe they should let him air it out. He would love nothing better to do that, but I think they'll probably stay a little bit conservative. They opened it up a little bit last week in the first playoff game, but I think Kelly would probably have a tendency to want to do that more than Boomer would.
2 days after being awash in victory, the Bengals had Buffalo on their mind. For offensive line coach Jim McNally, that's his hometown, and the Bills were his team in the early days of the AFL.
In fact, I used to even sneak into War Memorial Stadium, and I'd say, the guy behind me's got the ticket. And then we'd be about 5 of us to say the guy behind me's got the ticket, and we'd right in through.
This week he hopes his blockers move as easily through the Buffalo defense. For offensive guard Bruce Reimers, driving in meant a day for Super Bowl daydreaming.
I was thinking back to dreams as a kid, you know, and watching all the Super Bowls, you know, that we're only one game away from a chance to go play in it.
But only if they can beat the Bills for the second time in 6 weeks.
What we're trying to find out is what do they like now as opposed to what they liked a month ago.
At that time, the Bengals won by 2 touchdowns.
I think up there in Buffalo, they think we're going to take it kind of easy because we know we beat them heavily. Well, it's not going to be that way.
This becomes the Bengals' biggest week yet, and they don't plan to be buffaloed. John Popovich, Channel 9 Sports.
And this is probably has to be, to me, one of the most important football games I've ever played in.
We're going to run the ball, we're going to pass the ball, and I don't think we're going to do one more than the other to start. We're just going to see what's working.
Everything concerns me about a team that's gone this far in the season with the record they've got, the winnings and the success they've had. So there's nothing that is of no concern to me.
What jungle? I never heard about the jungle.
I really feel that a game of this importance should be decided by how well you play against each other and not a manipulation of the rules.
Isn't it ironic that the last time these two teams played a game after New Year's, it was against each other in 1982? That playoff might account for some early jitters as they traded first-quarter turnovers. Jim Kelly's second errant throw, though, led to a Cincinnati touchdown as Eric Thomas snatched his 9th interception of the season. Speaking of hands, watch Rodney Holman with a shoestring grab to convert on 2nd and 17, the play carried to the 5. That's icky territory, and the Bengals' bruising fullback plowed in the point after, and it's 7-0 Bengals. That seemed to arouse the Bills and quarterback Jim Kelly, who went on a 4-for-4 passing binge that chewed up big chunks of ground and finally erased their goose egg on the board when Andre Reed scored from 9 yards out. Norwood's point after, and it's 7-all. You know, maybe there is something to that south end zone jinx, because the usually true Scott Norwood was wide left from 43 yards out as they made a bid to untie it on their very next possession. Muffled to this point, the Bengals' running game finally got going. Ickey Woods doing the heavy work. He finished with 29 carries, 102 yards. But it was a nifty little throw and catch boomer to James Brooks that got the job done from the 10-yard line as Cincinnati went up 14-7. The defense forced another Buffalo punt, and folks are thinking, yeah, they'll put some more points up just before halftime. Well, there was a score, but not by Cincinnati. Mark Kelso snatched a boomer pass with 1:15 left, and this time Norwood was dead on from 39 yards out to make it a game at 14-10. Now the moment of truth. It's 4th and 4 at Buffalo's 33. By all appearances, Cincinnati's going to punt. But no, it's a fake. Turk Schonert in on the ruse. He hands off to Stanley Wilson, who converts to keep the drive alive for yet another pivotal play. Bad blood brewing all afternoon, and it boiled over when Derek Burrows swatted Tim McGee. Rather than 3rd and 8, the Bengals got a 1st and goal, and Burrows an early shower. He was ejected from the game. That paved the way for Ickey Woods' second touchdown of the afternoon and the inevitable crowd-pleasing sideline shuffle with help from the SWAT team. But Buffalo didn't get this far by accident. They quickly mounted a pass-happy offensive that again moved them quickly downfield, only to have David Fulcher again play spoiler, claiming the end zone interception that allowed the Bengals to run out the clock on their second AFC championship.
Ickey, how's it feel?
Feels good. Check it out. Make sure y'all get one now.
Everybody said that the Bengals aren't going to go to the Super Bowl because they don't have a good defense. I think if you look at it from a realistic standpoint, the defense won 2 big games right in a row here.
Well, we wanted to prove it wasn't a fluke last week. Last week everybody said, well, sure, they yelled them, but can they do it 2 weeks in a row? And we did it 2 weeks in a row.
Well, I think we played a team that was just, tell you the honest truth, was stronger.
I thought they were a good defense, but not a great defense. And, they played a heck of a game. They
played a very, very good team today, and we didn't do what we had to do to win. And they did, and they are the best team in the AFC right now.
You got to credit them. They're a super team, and that's why they're going to the Super Bowl, and we'll be watching on TV.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's been a great trip so far, and I'll tell you, our guys worked so hard all year. Yeah, I can give you all these cliches about the things we've come back from since last year. It's just a great story, and it's an unfinished one right now, and hopefully we can snatch a victory down in Miami.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has to complete one of the most remarkable turnarounds in the history of sports, from 4-11 to the Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals. From Riverfront Stadium, also known as the Jungle, Dennis Jansen, Channel 9 Sports.
Yeah, it is, but well worth the wait. But, I think there's going to be a wee bit of a difference playing one in Miami and playing one in Pontiac, Michigan, so we're looking forward to it. It's something that I want to win this time. I went through it, and I know how exciting it is to be there, but I also know how the pain of losing that football game and how it stays with you, not just for next week or next year, but for the rest of your life. People talk about that game still, and so I'd like to have one under my belt that I can talk about and be proud of.
Football according to John Madden. He's played it, coached it, analyzed it. So what could Sam White tell him?
We were in there, and Sam was drawing plays on the board, and how he gets his fullback back 5.5 yards so an Ickey Woods can run downhill.
He told him things that a former coach would be interested in.
How every play they have what they call a Q receiver, that if they come on a blitz, you can get rid of the ball quick.
That's what makes Madden different than most reporters.
I like that kind of stuff, and everyone else wants to know, when the wives are going to come to the Super Bowl or stuff. So that's.
So in search of that knowledge, the Madden cruiser came into town and spent a day with Sam White.
I did a 49er game around mid-season, and we got talking about football and the direction it's going, and Bill Walsh out of the Clear Blue said, I'll tell you who's the most creative coach in the NFL today. And Sam White.
Which should make for an interesting game, since Bill Walsh also has been tabbed an offensive genius.
Offensively, these two guys are the most creative coaches in the NFL, and then it'll probably be won by defense. So others not going to play anyway.
You see, Madden says the Super Bowl really is all about defense, and the NFC is all about defense.
That and tough four-man lines.
Lines that stuff the run, and big safeties that help out.
I mean, they got a guy like Ronnie Lott, number 42, who comes flying up there and brings a pretty big load when he comes.
You see, says Madden, the 49ers are known for offense, but they win with defense.
So that's I think that's going to be the biggest problem for the Bengals.
That and Joe Montana.
I mean, the guy's coming off a bad elbow, the guy had back surgery, they were going to replace him with Steve Young, and you talk about a comeback. This is the greatest comeback that I've seen since Sugar Ray Leonard beat Marvin Hagler. He got like renewed strength. I mean, he must be taking vitamins or bee pollen or some darn. No, really, I mean, he's shooting things that look like bullets.
And finally, besides dodging the bullets, the Bengals will have to dodge the hoopla.
But the team that usually complains the most is the team that loses. And the team that goes and doesn't complain and just does it will usually be the winning team.
So here's the game plan. Handle the line, shut off the safety, dodge the bullet, and ignore the media. That's the Madden guide to winning the Super Bowl. John Popovich, Channel 9 Sports.
Obviously well rested and in high spirits, the Bengals finally went back to work today, beginning preparations for Super Bowl 23 in Miami.
How about your approach to playoffs when you were coaching?
Well,
just another game?
Well, it wasn't another game, but we didn't change our routines or our procedures. We practiced just like we did all year long. You can't change that kind of thing. It has to be something that's, well, part of the routine.
As Paul Brown mentioned to our media when we first started the season, it's just our scrappy little 11, just a bunch of guys trying to fight through it and going up against a giant of a football team that's been there before and knows how to do it. So the only way we know how to do it is just do what we've been doing, and that is taking it a little bit at a time, not too many big chunks, and hoping by game time we're ready.
Those hearts were full of fire when they took the field of Joe Robbie Stadium. The players seemed loose and upbeat and ready to show their stuff on the field, even as the Super Show continued in the skies. Hordes of Cincinnati fans made their presence known, including Red Zoner Marge Schott. And a youngster from Springfield was the object of a touching gesture as the Bengals left the field following warm-ups. When they blew out of the tunnel during introductions, Tim Crumry was exultant. And who would think that the heart and soul of the Bengals defense, just 13 plays later, would leave the game with a broken leg as chins hit chests up and down the Bengals bench. Rookie David Grant made a good showing for himself, but one has to wonder, what if? The Bengals offense could never get anything in gear thanks to the Niners defense and to the treacherous turf that broke two legs as it continually gave way underfoot.
Especially in midfield, you know, all the grass was coming up and you really couldn't get your footing.
Frankly, Cincinnati dodged some bullets in that first half and felt fortunate to go to intermission at 3-all. The teams traded field goals, and after the Niners tied it at 6, Stanford Jennings, who became a new father just Saturday night, gathered in the ball at the 7, and it was see ya Stanford. The second longest kickoff return for a touchdown in Super Bowl history, 93 yards to a bittersweet 6.
Very much so. It's just like no emotion. I mean, we were so close.
You had to figure, though, that it wouldn't go unchallenged. However, it looked like the defense would come up with its weekly big play when Lewis Billups closed in on an end zone interception, but it got away. And one play later, Montana hit Rice for the touchdown that set up the tying points. Cincinnati hasn't been a team to fold its tent all season, though, and they responded with the go-ahead field goal, which set the stage for the final stand, the moment of truth. Could they hold off Montana and company? The answer, a devastating no.
I'm disappointed because we lost the ball game and because everybody wanted to win. But I think I'm more proud and I feel a little better because I think we shut up a lot of people. We wasn't supposed to be out here.
Probably most of the people that were watching this game were expecting Bud versus Bud Light to be the real dramatic game of the day, you know, but it was exciting, and we had a great chance to win the football game. We made all the plays to win the football game, but, you know, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice are just phenomenal.
There are a lot of guys to be very proud of this year, and we gave it our all. You know, what can I tell you?
You have nothing to be ashamed of losing to these guys.
No, I think they're an excellent team. They're the world champions.
We were within half a minute, 34 seconds of winning a world championship with a team that couldn't win but 4 games last year. What it says is that you can come a long way if you just believe that you can do it.